Clean. Looking for an all-purpose cleaner to muscle through the tough dirt around your home? Well, the Mr. Clean Clean Freak Mist is up for the job. Clean Freak Mist brings the cleaning power and the special power nozzle to tackle hard-to-reach dirt, which means it can conquer caked-on messes in your microwave, stained countertops, and grimy surfaces. Just spray, wipe, and done. Brought to you by Mr. Clean. There's no clean like Mr. Clean.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Fireball Hot Take Friday. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Okay, let's get into it. They play tomorrow, the Titans do, against Tampa Bay. And I'm a little depressed. Not for me, but more so for the fans. Because tomorrow's preseason game will be a lot like Thursday's preseason game last week, where none of the good players played, and maybe even less good players will play this week because they had 2 practices with Tampa Bay. It's really unfortunate that a lot of money is spent on the preseason, and we'll all watch. I'll watch, you'll watch, we'll all watch. But it is disappointing that so much money is spent on the preseason. News 2 is paying a fortune for these games. Mm-hmm. The fans will buy tickets to these games, and nobody good will play. Now, Malik will play, so at least that's a little interesting. We can dive into what we see with Malik or everything else that comes of this game. But really, the measuring stick for me were the 2 practices against Tampa Bay. So I want to start with this topic, which is, do we feel better about the Titans after these 2 practices with Tampa Bay? Or do we feel worse about the Titans? And just kind of my takeaways, I watched offense one day. I watched defense the other day. First day I watched defense against no good players from the Buccaneers except for Leonard Fournette. Defense dominated, which they should do against a team with a backup quarterback. If one of these teams that they have to play this season with a good quarterback ends up having to play its backup, that is exactly what we should see is the Titans defense dominate them, which we did. Then the offense yesterday, I thought it was back and forth with the Bucs. I didn't think they were terrible. I didn't think they were overly sharp. They committed some penalties. There was pressure for Tannehill. Tannehill made some nice throws. Tannehill made some bad throws. They had a bad 2-minute drill. They had a good 2-minute drill the other day. So kind of mixed results on offense. But again, Tampa Bay, I would assume, has a championship caliber defense. I mean, all those guys that won the championship, for the most part, are out there with Tampa Bay. And so a really good defense, and the Titans didn't look terrible against it. Do we feel better? Do we feel worse? How do we feel about the Titans after the 2 practices?
I would say I probably feel just a smidgen better, a hair better. I would feel more confident if I saw the defense dominate against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Tom Brady. So that's kind of a hard barometer for me. But I really went into the joint practices with the Bucs thinking,
would you expect the defense to dominate against those guys?
I wouldn't expect them to dominate, but I'd feel much better about saying, I feel so much better about the Titans, obviously.
Yeah, but if
I didn't expect them to dominate the ones against Tampa Bay, but it would be very encouraging to see them play really well against a championship caliber offense. And then seeing the offense look good, decent, fine, not domination over the Bucs defense, but they held their own, I would say, against this Buc defense. And that makes me feel better because so much of my confidence about Tannehill in this offense pre the joint practices with the Bucs was always couched with, okay, but you're going up against your own defense and you're not feeling the same pressure from the defensive line. And is the Titans defense just that bad this year? So it was good to see a little bit of a shakeup and see the Titans offense go up against a different defense, a defense that we know is good, and say, okay, this team can hold its own.
So I feel worse.
Why?
Not a lot worse, but I feel worse. And because there are some things that became more certain to me over these practices, but there were other things that I was wishing to see that I didn't see. And I'll use the defense as an example. Now, I only watched the first day. I didn't watch the second day. And TD said that Caleb Farley had a good day in day 2. Mm-hmm. But looking at the defense, do you have any question about Bud Dupree right now?
Not really, no.
Jeffrey Simmons?
Nope.
Danico Autry?
Nope.
T.R. Tart?
No.
Harold Landry?
No.
David Long Jr.?
No.
Zach Cunningham?
No.
Kevin Byard?
No.
Amani Hooker?
No.
Christian Fulton?
Not really.
Caleb Farley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So going into it, I knew all those other guys could play, and I see Farley go up against Julio Jones, and he didn't have a horrendous day, but I thought it could have been better. There was one where he was beaten by a receiver I'd never heard of, and if Blaine Gabbert throws a decent ball, that's a touchdown. And if that's Tom Brady, that's a touchdown. And if that's Josh Allen in week 2, that's a touchdown. If that's Derek Carr in week 3, it's probably a touchdown. So I can't say I feel better because I felt really good about the Titans defense, and they played well against a bunch of backups, and Farley had a tough day from the day that I watched the defense. Other side on offense. Mm-hmm. While I am encouraged by the fact that I felt like Tannehill looked confident against Tampa Bay, and as I said many times yesterday, I felt like it's obvious to me that he now has his group of receivers that he likes and his pass catchers and everything else. But did Treylon Burks, I know he had a big catch in the one-on-one and then one right away, and then he went in the locker room and he came back the next day. But was Treylon Burks outstanding in these practices? No.
He did a couple good things.
And
he didn't shine.
And that's the guy who's supposed to replace A.J. Brown. So when I think about the Titans, I don't know about right tackle, and not that A, I looked enough, B, that it's really tackle play is hard unless I'm just standing right there to see what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd like to be able to watch the tape and roll it back and then roll it back again, and obviously I can't do that. But I'm not certain at all about right tackle. I'm not certain at all about that Treylon Burks is going to have the impact that Treylon Burks is supposed to have this season. And I'm not sold right now that the Titans have a championship caliber offense. And they do have to have a championship caliber offense to go with a championship caliber defense. So not that I was expecting the Titans to go out there and hang it up on the Bucs first team defense that has good players, and not that they stunk. I mean, in a game, and I talked about this, about how there'll be 11-on-11s in a game where they go 3 and out, punt the football, put the defense back out on the field, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I guess like all the things that I already felt about the team, I felt pretty comfortable with. Like I felt pretty confident, and I felt fine about the idea that I knew who the pass catchers were. I feel fine about Nick Westbrook-Akina as a third or fourth receiver of this team. I know Racey McMath can catch the deep ball. He dropped one in the 2-minute yesterday. Well, can't have those drops in a game, because if Racey McMath, as great of a camp as he's had, if he's going to drop them in a game, it's not going to work out for this team. I did like Kyle Phillips. That was one that I wasn't completely, I know everybody had been talking about Phillips, and I had seen Phillips, and I knew what his game was, but he really put it on Tampa Bay. From what I saw, Tannehill really went at him. But Derrick Henry didn't practice, and it's not like it would have mattered if he did practice, because it's not like they would have tackled him anyways. So I guess it's a long-winded way of me saying that, now I see kind of where the holes are for the Titans and what they have to do to take the next step. And it's unfortunate that we'll have Arizona next week, but we probably won't get a good feel until the Giants game. Maybe next week, Arizona will have a real offense that comes in here. And maybe Burks will perform well, but those are kind of my things is I know who's already on the team. Mm-hmm. Like I already know I know what the guys that are on the team can do. I know what their ceilings are, the guys that have played in the NFL. I know Austin Hooper's fine. He's not great. He's fine, which is good. They're not paying him to be great, and he doesn't have a contract of a guy who's great, and the expectations are to be great.
He's a step up.
But like Burks and Farley, those are the guys
that
have to really, truly be good players for this team. And not that they were horrible, but I didn't feel enough of that. And so I guess I'd say I feel a little bit worse because I already felt good about the defense. And the offense, I see it. Like, I see what they're trying to do, but it just felt kind of sloppy.
But I think there's an element there of, we've spent so much time talking about Ryan Tannehill.
Sure.
And is this, newfound confidence that he seems to have, this newfound ownership that he seems to have in the offense, is that something that's going to be, we only see in training camp because it's easy whenever you're going up against your own guys, whenever it's easy when you're not in a game setting. And of course, obviously, you're not in a game setting against the Bucs in joint practices, but it feels pretty close to it, or it's at least the closest that you're going to get to it, to seeing that with Ryan Tannehill in the preseason. So I think that element of it, that Ryan Tannehill still continued to kind of keep up that level of play, that level of confidence this past week, made me feel better because I questioned if he could continue to do that even when he was facing pressure.
The problem is that while that confidence is great, and I'm not disagreeing with you, and I do think it's part of the new look Tannehill and everything else. And again, all I'm asking Tannehill to do is not turn the football over. That's all I really care about. He had 1 interception in 2 days, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like, they have a 2-minute drill, and this is where they're going to lose some games. They had a 2-minute drill, and I don't know who screwed up, and I can't go back and look at it anyways because they won't let us, and they don't want us to, and, it's just kind of life. You just kind of see what you see, and then it is what it is. But in the 2-minute drill, the Titans had the ball with 50 seconds and 1 timeout at, midfield, and Tannehill goes to drop back on the first play, and he gets sacked.
Yeah.
So, again, 2-minute, 1 timeout, ball at the Tampa Bay 45 with 50 seconds. Tannehill sacked on the first play. I want the offense to perform better this year. Get sacked. Vrabel even said it yesterday. You get sacked on that play, game's over for the most part because you use the timeout. And then what's crazy is he actually had a good throw with 18 seconds left. Now, they probably wouldn't have been able to spike this ball, but he had a good throw into the deep corner, and McMath dropped it. And so I know it's August, but if this team wants to win a championship or wants to compete for a championship, those are plays that have to get made, even against good defenses. Those are the plays that have to get made. 2-minute drill. Every game in the NFL comes right down to the wire. The league is literally built that way. And every game, for the most part, unless it's some horrible organization like the Jets, every game, it feels like, comes right down to the wire. And it's a field goal here or a 4-point game there or a 4th down here. And in what I saw against the Buccaneers, I didn't feel like the offense showed me that they can do those things consistently. And maybe they just need more rhythm together. I think that's probably part of it. But I'd say I feel a little bit worse. Now, I think they'll beat the Giants, and I still think they'll probably make the playoffs. And I certainly don't feel like I felt about the Colts after watching what they did on Saturday. But I'm not sure I feel much better because it's hard to feel better when they dominate a bunch of nobodies on offense or on defense. And the offense just is kind of, it was fine. And again, it's better than the alternative. But that's where I feel like I'm at right now. 615-737-1025. We'll get your reaction on this. 615-737-1025. Then there's the Treylon Burks thing. Because everybody has one criticism about the Titans, and without just criticizing the quarterback. And it is they traded away their best receiver. And what has Treylon Burks done to make us think that he can replace A.J. Brown? Because that's what he's going to have to do. So we'll get into that as well. As your phones, your reaction to what you heard from the Tampa practices, or if you were able to go there, what you thought from it. 615-737-1025, Stillman & Company. We're delivered by TriStar Moving on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
2, 3, 4, look out!
High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Game Blitz, presented by Apple Collision Centers.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and you could start the second half of the baseball season the right way and turn Ks into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up using promo code ROB, place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. The Bronx Bombers, the New York Yankees, have been on fire so far this season. They're my pick in the second half of the season as well. I love Aaron Judge, and I love the hitting that they bring to the table. But you take it any way you want to take it. Just make sure you do it on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel Sportsbook. They've got great promotions every day. The app is safe and secure, and you get paid quickly as well. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
When you need electronics or appliances, find great deals in-store or online at Electronic Express. Save big on favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Nintendo, iRobot, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
It's a fact. Guys hate going to the doctor. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and low testosterone issues, men from all over Middle Tennessee have been thrilled seeing Dr. Alderson and their providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Men all the way up to 95 years old have jump-started their sex drive and energy levels. Lots of men suffer with ED for years, but now they're able to enjoy sex again. Tom from Nashville said, "The Tennessee Men's Clinic has changed my life. I have been able to be intimate with my wife for the first time in 5 years. She thought this problem was because of her, but the pills never worked for me. I had given up until I went to the clinic and realized there were more options for erectile dysfunction. Now I'm happy and my wife is happy. A visit for only $99, and that includes all testing, including a PSA and testosterone test. Give the guys at the clinic a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra, results vary.
Never miss a moment of the show. What is this? Check it out. Subscribe to the Stillman & Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
First team offense in a 2-minute drill.
Well, I think if you in that situation, I think if you take a sack in the first play, it's going to be next to impossible to win a game. You know, I mean, we're going to bang a timeout, and now it's like you get tackled in bounds twice, pretty much the game's over. So, not good enough.
There you go. That was Vrabel on the 2-minute drill yesterday, in which, to his point, they got sacked on the first play. But here's one thing that kind of bothers me about 2-minute drills over the last 2 days against the Buccaneers, because these are the only real 2-minute drills that count. Legitimate defense, championship defense, 11 on 11, ball at the 40-yard line, one timeout, 50 seconds have to score a touchdown. That will happen in the season. Mm-hmm. Those will happen. In the first practice, 2-minute drill for the Titans offense, first team offense. Just listen to all the names I rattle off. Tannehill complete to Hooper. Tannehill complete to Hooper. Tannehill complete to Hooper. Tannehill complete to Hilliard. Tannehill incomplete for Westbrook-Akina. Tannehill complete to Phillips. Tannehill spike. Tannehill complete to Hilliard. Hilliard with a run. Hurricane, which is where they run, you know, they call it the 9-1-1 drill.
Yeah.
Where everybody runs on the field. They kick it anyways. Field goal, good. Okay, the next one with the first team offense. Tannehill on a run. Tannehill on the run completes to Robert Woods. Tannehill spikes. Tannehill complete to Okonkwo. Tannehill spikes. Bullock's field goal is good. Okay, let's go to yesterday's 2-minute drill with Tannehill. And again, just yesterday, there are only two, but again, this is what wins and loses you games. Tannehill in the 2-minute. 50 seconds to go, one timeout, ball to Tampa 40. Tannehill sacked. Tannehill complete to Phillips. Tannehill complete to Phillips. Tannehill incomplete for Phillips. Tannehill incomplete for McMath. Tannehill complete inbounds to Westbrook-Akina. Notice a name I didn't mention at all there?
Treylon Burks.
Treylon Burks. And if this were last year, not to say it is, but we would be saying A.J. Brown's name a lot. Mm-hmm. I know Tannehill has more guys that he's comfortable with this year than he ever was last year. I get it. But at the same time, they brought in Treylon Burks to replace A.J. Brown. And he had an excellent first day of practice. It was something to be very excited about was his first day of practice. I mean, he's got the talent now. I'm not sitting here saying that J. Rob screwed up on this because Treylon Burks is a bum who can't play. I'm not saying that. Treylon Burks has the talent. But it's like I said when we were talking about trusting stars. Mm-hmm. And they need Burks to come in and kind of be a pseudo-star. When it comes to trusting stars and core players, you have to trust your star on the field to make the right decisions. You have to trust your star off the field to make the right decisions. And what's the third layer of trust? You have to trust the star to stay on the field. And so with Burks, that's kind of where I feel like they are with him. Now, it might be like A.J., where A.J. didn't really do much at all in the preseason and didn't do much in that training camp practice against the Patriots. Took his first pass against Cleveland, ran it down about 65 yards to set up a score in the first game, and by week 4, A.J. was best receiver on the team. Maybe that's what Burks will be. But I keep looking back at how to be better than last year. I think the defense has a lot of confidence, and they didn't start the season with that kind of confidence. And so the continuity and the confidence, that should be good. I feel fine about Derrick Henry, though we'll never really know until we see him run against the Giants. And I feel like there's more comfort on offense, especially for Tannehill. But the one thing that they're missing is that big play superstar ability that A.J. had, and it has to come from Burks. It's not coming from Nick Westbrook-Akina or Racey McMath.
Why can't it come from Robert Woods?
Because Robert Woods is a volume guy. Like, he's a good, throw it to him a bunch guy, but he's not the game-breaking, superstar.
Big play kind of.
Right. The truth about the Titans pass catchers, and I don't want to sound like I'm knocking them because I'm really not. I think that it's a good mix. Now, as I said yesterday, I'm not taking these receivers out to any other team and saying, all right, Denver with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and all your guys, I've got my guys here too. Let's go. I don't look at it like that. But Robert Woods right now is the number one receiver of the team, and the Rams didn't want him so they could go sign Allen Robinson to be the number 2 of that team. Not that they didn't want him to be the number 1. They didn't want him to be the number 2. Austin Hooper got released in Cleveland. Now, he signed a massive contract after he was in Atlanta, but he didn't live up to it. But again, he was released. There's only one guy out here that pretty much every team in the league didn't get a crack at to have, and it's Burks. Just like how everybody would love to have a Kevin Byard. Mm-hmm. Everybody loved to have Derrick Henry. Everybody loved to have. Well, they could have had all these other guys, not Burks. That's where Burks has to play better. That's one thing that, and again, it's early. It's very, very early in his career. It's very early in the season. It's not really early in the preseason, but it's early in the season. But Burks really impressed the first day. I know the talent's there. The talent was there in college. The talent was there the first day of practice. He even had a couple of nice grabs yesterday before he went off. But now they need Burks to be a little bit more consistent.
And I think my thing with Burks, where I kind of disagree with you, is with A.J. Brown, at least last season, I understand in 19 and 20 you had Corey Davis and Johnny Smith to kind of spread the ball around. But in 2021, A.J. Brown was the guy. Julio Jones couldn't be on the field. Nick Westbrook-Akina, was just a guy. Still is just a guy.
He's just a guy.
And Anthony Ferkser and Jeff Swaim, they're just guys.
The Titans completely neglected they have a legitimate starting tight end right now.
And I think that's the difference, too, is you look at A.J. Brown's production, at least in 2021, and it was huge. Treylon Burks maybe doesn't equate to what A.J. was last year, but does he need to in order for this offense to still have the same amount of volume?
Well, the offense was championship caliber the year before that, and A.J. was the only one over 1,000 yards receiving. Davis didn't get to 1,000. Jonnu didn't get to 500. I mean, I know the idea is, hey, they're going to run it, and now Tannehill can spread it to all these guys, but stars are what win in the big games.
Yeah.
That's where Indianapolis' biggest problem is right now. I'll just say what it is with the Colts. The biggest problem with Indianapolis is that their star players are a running back, a guard, and a middle linebacker, and a defensive tackle. Those are their stars. And while it's great to have stars at those positions, those aren't the premium positions. And the Titans run into that a little bit too. Their best players are running back,
a safety.
Now, it is a defensive tackle that sacks the quarterback, unlike Buckner, who doesn't. Mm-hmm. Now, not that Simmons is a huge sacker, but again, a defensive tackle, star player,
a running back, a safety.
You know, that's where the need premium position, need stars at premium positions. Think about why the Titans have lost the last couple of playoff games. They lost the one against Cincinnati because Joe Burrow, a star, had two big gains to Jamar Chase, also a star, and the Titans quarterback turned the ball over 3 times. They lost to the Ravens because Lamar Jackson, a star, busted out for a 50-yard touchdown run. They lost to Kansas City because Patrick Mahomes, a star, and Frank Clark, at the time, a star, went nuts in the second half of the AFC Championship game. That's where it's about the stars. And while everybody else has, like, good-ish potential, like Phillips, he's got great slot receiver potential. But he's not a star.
No.
Burks has to, not right away, but Burks has to ascend into being a really, really good player.
Not right away, then when?
Probably pretty soon.
Yeah.
Probably pretty soon. 615-737-1025, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Nick has been waiting patiently. He's going to kick us off on Treylon Burks. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Nick.
So I just think the expectations need to be tempered a little bit for this guy.
Why?
I think we're being too hard on him right off the bat. Well, if you look at the draft capital say that Jamar Chase was last year, I mean, everybody was ready to hang him out on the line to dry. Dude couldn't catch a cold. And then all of a sudden during the season, he comes into his own, starts living up to the hype. And I think Treylon Burks is going to be in a similar situation. When somebody's gets a new job, is a new person in the office, they're not excelling right off the bat. They got to kind of learn everything, get used to everything. And I think that's kind of the same thing with Treylon Burks. So I'll hang up and look for your response.
Yep, thank you for your call, Nick. I mean, I remember we talked about how Jamar Chase constantly dropped the football, and I definitely thought, I was like, man, maybe that bad dude that I saw in that LSU team in 2019 took a year off of football because he knew his team sucked and he didn't want any part of getting hurt. And now he's picked high by the Bengals, and the Bengals could have drafted an offensive lineman when they have no offensive line. And what are they doing? And Jamar Chase is really freaking good. So that may be the case with Burks. I just think that the way Tannehill is I think Tannehill needs continuity. Like, he needs comfort. And he's getting it with these other guys. Except that Nick Westbrook-Akina is Nick Westbrook-Akina. That's what he is. That's what he is. He's not. And so that's where they need their star to be a star. And that's just like how Cincinnati needed Chase to be a star. The Titans need Burks to go out there and be a star. 615-737-1025, more your phone. Speaking of this, Joe had a doozy of a take today that I want to get to next because I know Joe thinks this. And I think some fans might think it. And I think some people who cover the team might think this. But it's an incredibly flawed way of viewing the Titans. It is where the training camp starts to scramble the brain a little bit. We'll get to that take coming up next here on the Receivers, here on Stillman and Company. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, those are my guys. They do a fantastic job, and they will do the exact same for you. It is back-to-school season, and Hiller is giving you a free backyard upgrade all month long. So tackle those necessary home systems in August to take advantage of these special deals, like a free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a new tankless water heater, or a free Traeger wood pellet grill with the purchase of a new whole home generator. Hiller's also helping keep you cool for back to school with special limited time financing promotions on HVAC replacements. So get 0% interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. There's no better time to make sure your family is comfortable for that last bit of warm weather and before things start to get cold. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee. And I know this because I use Hiller myself. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. By the way, shout out to the Predators for the NHL draft and the NHL awards in 2023. Way to go.
Very excited.
I know our friends at Hiller are very proud of the Predators for that as well. Hiller called the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Men, what if I told you that now you are able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMD4Men.com.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds. All hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Right now, get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. Old School Pizza features New York style thin crust made fresh to order from imported Italian flour that gives a unique flavor and crunch. Check out Happy Hour every weekday afternoon from 3 to 5 for half off selected appetizers and draft beer. Have pizza the old school way at Old School Pizza in Brentwood. OldSchoolPizzaBrentwood.com.
I'm Cindy Mae Johnson from Mountaintop Media in the beautiful Appalachian Mountains of eastern Kentucky, where flash floods have taken lives and destroyed homes. The news can never accurately convey how much help is needed. If you're willing or able to help, even a little, please donate to the East Kentucky Dream Center on Venmo or at ekdc.info. Thank you for your prayers and support.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series at Jacksonville with a doubleheader. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pregame for Game 1 at 3:50.
On your home for Sounds Baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What have you seen from Nick Westbrook in this camp? He's heading into year 3, and he's one of the more experienced receivers in this system now.
A lot of versatility, a lot of toughness. Can play different positions. Willing to go in there and block. Had some nice catches yesterday in the play pass stuff. 7-on-7, had a nice executed catch and run through some traffic on a keeper. Just a lot of consistency from Nick. I think seen a lot of growth. I think he's healthy. I think he's just developing, and he's got a lot more comfort and also helps us on special teams.
There you go. Vrabel really, really happy about Nick Westbrook-Akina. And I'll say this, Nick Westbrook-Akina has had a good training camp.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill trusts Nick Westbrook-Akina.
And that's valuable.
And Nick Westbrook-Akina, he's not the fastest guy, but he's not the slowest guy.
And he also can play in so many different positions.
And he's not the biggest guy.
No, he's not.
But he's not the smallest guy.
No, that's true.
But he's
a plain bagel.
He's fine.
He gets the job done.
He's fine. He's a fine complementary receiver to have on the team. He is not a game changer for this organization. If they lost Nick Westbrook-Akina, I'd be sad for about 20 seconds, and then they'd go get somebody else to play that kind of role. Treylon Burks has to be a bad boy. Robert Woods has to be the dependable, all-the-time, in big moments, can catch the football, high-volume guy. Westbrook-Akina's a 3. So I'm listening to Robbie and Rexford this morning. And Joe, who we know is the president and the founder of the Nick Westbrook-Akina Can Play in the NFL Club.
Joe Rexbrook-Akina.
Which we have to give Joe a little credit because Joe said that last year when Corey Davis was a free agent. Joe wrote the column based on the things that people had told him that Westbrook-Akina could be a number 2, and everybody in town was like, how dare you? And then Westbrook-Akina was probably the most reliable receiver the Titans had last year.
Yeah.
But again, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. This was Joe this morning on Robbie and Retro.
Look, I hate to say this. I do. I hate to say this because
No, you don't.
NWI has been awesome. He's been awesome. He was awesome this week. Catching everything, getting open, yards after the catch. I don't know what it's going to mean. That guy has gotten better. They love him, and he's starting. Week 1, he's starting, okay? It's Robert Woods, it's Westbrook-Akina. Week 1, Robert Woods and Westbrook-Akina are going to dominate the snaps at wide receiver. Put it right down. I mean, it's a called shot. Add it to my called shots. It will be those two, because I do think that the Titans are going to play a pretty good chunk of 2 tight end, and it will be those 2 bread and butter in this offense. And Woods has been very good too. I don't know that either is anything more than like a really good possession receiver in the NFL, and that's where you get to the concern again of like you lose A.J. Brown, and what does that mean big picture to your offense? But for what they are, first of all, Westbrook-Akina is well beyond what anyone could have expected for him. He's going to have a good year, and I like Woods a lot too. You're right. We don't talk about him. We're not going to see him Saturday. They are at the least going to be solid and reliable players, and they both have good chemistry with Tannehill.
All right, let's totally dissect this here.
Okay.
Robert Woods is a $16 million a year receiver. Nick Westbrook-Akina is an undrafted free agent.
Yes.
Now, Joe there started to get into the crazy talk when he started talking about Nick Westbrook-Akina starting, when he started talking about the one thing that stood out to me where I'm going, okay, this is where camp is starting to rot Joe's brain. When he said they both can be really good possession receivers in the NFL. Stop. Robert Woods can be a really good possession receiver in the NFL.
Yes.
Robert Woods has been a really good possession receiver in the NFL. So good that his quarterback, when he was the quarterback's top guy, got the most guaranteed money in the history of the NFL until Deshaun Watson broke that record this year. Really good Westbrook-Akina. Now, I've seen him at practice. Joe's right. He's improved. Joe's right. They like him. Joe's right. He can catch it. Joe's right about all those things. But really good in the NFL, and Nick Westbrook-Akina has done more than anybody expected 3 years ago, are not equal. He is not going to be a really good wide receiver in the NFL. He is going to be the Titans' 3 this year. That doesn't mean that he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver. And there's a huge difference between the two. There's a huge difference. Like, with the Lions, they're the easiest comp to have right here because half their receivers used to play on the Titans. Right now, their number 1 receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was a 4th-round pick taken after Dez Fitzpatrick, and when Amon-Ra St. Brown on Hard Knocks went over all the receivers in the NFL that were picked ahead of him in the draft and then finished with Dez Fitzpatrick, Louisville, a little piece of my heart broke off. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really good NFL receiver. He is a good NFL receiver. The other guys, Raymond and Reynolds, and they'll get stats because they play on a team that's always going to be losing and that has a quarterback that'll throw it, and they'll catch it, and they'll end up with 500 yards, which is good for them. But it's not really good in the NFL. And the way Joe was talking about Westbrook-Akina was like Westbrook-Akina could be the surprise guy this season that, really makes an impact and carries the Titans further, and he's not going to be that guy. He doesn't have that potential. Burks has that potential. And I also disagree with Joe about Westbrook-Akina will be starting week 1, and I think he's good. Like, that's – so I'm, like, sitting here.
And Nick Westbrook-Akina isn't bad.
No.
He is a solid, reliable guy who can play in the slot. He can play outside. He can play in several different positions.
He's the bottom of the roster.
And he's a good tool to have on your roster.
Right.
Someone who really stepped up for the Titans last year without Julio Jones and without A.J. Brown. He's a reliable, scrappy kind of guy. No disrespect to Nick Westbrook-Akina. But he's not your first-round pick. And you haven't guaranteed him millions of dollars like you did for Robert Woods.
But that's not why. But see, that's not honestly why
But I think that's an element here
why
that
Burks
you
would
can't
play
ignore.
over Westbrook-Akina.
Well, Burks is probably a better player.
Yeah, he's better. That's why. I mean, that's the Westbrook-Akina. As much as we can sit there and say, hey, Tannehill trusted him last year, and he proved it. He had 38 catches on a team that was decimated at receiver the entire year.
But how much of that is an element, to Joe's point? We didn't see Treylon Burks catch the ball a lot this week. Is there a trust element that just isn't there with Treylon Burks
It doesn't matter. Tannehill has to find it. Tannehill must, if you trust Nick Westbrook-Akina, he trusts him enough to throw him the ball on third down with the game on the line against the Bengals. And what happened?
Fell short of the sticks.
That was fourth down against the Steelers. Third down, game on the line against the Bengals. Throws it to Westbrook-Akina. Ball pops in the air and into the hands of Eli Apple.
Yeah.
Those are things that, and not that I've watched that interception 55 billion times. Those are things where if it's the guy you trust has to make a play. And this is why I always say, teams have to trust their stars. They don't have to trust the average guys. They have to trust the stars. They have to trust them on the field. They have to trust them off the field. And they have to trust them to stay on the field. And with Westbrook-Akina, he's a solid role player that if he wasn't here, he'd be on an NFL roster. But he's nothing more than a 3. I mean, just compare him to the Steelers. You think he's breaking ahead of George Pickens, Chase Claypool, or Deontay Johnson?
Probably not.
No. And those are the receivers that win. That's what it takes to win. And that's Woods. He's got some of that. Burks, you got to hope that he's got that. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. What do we have in the text line?
One texter texts in and says, what happened with feeling peachy about the team? Definitely a negative feeling to the show going into the weekend.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's a really good question because it wasn't like the Titans didn't do anything against Tampa Bay or did something that just depressed me. It wasn't like I saw something where I just put my head in my hands and just couldn't believe it, like that Colts game last year that led to the Jets game. But I just I wanted to see more fluid consistency from the guys that they're going to need it. I didn't want to see a sack on the first play of the 2-minute drive. I didn't want to see a drop with the game on the line. I wanted to see Treylon Burks out there. It's like for this offense to be successful, I know exactly what they need to do. And as to the point of the discussion that we're having right now, I need it to be more than this team's going to rely on Nick Westbrook-Akina. That's what I need more. Westbrook-Akina is not – nobody wins championships because of Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Well, I'm not sure I would be super surprised at the very beginning of the season, first game against the Giants when the offense walks out there, that NWI, Robert Woods, Hooper, Swaim, Henry. That's your formation. Like, that would not surprise me, right? Would that be super surprising? And then maybe as they go on, Burks becomes more of the starter. But to begin the season, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the formation.
So I think when it comes to, like, snap counts and passing situations, because football it's like the whole talk about corner between McCreary and Farley. And I'm like, they're both going to play at the same time all the time because they're not going to run 4 defensive backs out there like it's 1996. But when it comes to passing situation snaps, Treylon Burks needs to have more than Nick Westbrook-Akina. So like a 3rd and 7, Ian's point being that the 5 eligible receivers on a running play, that we're more likely to see Swaim than we are to see a Okonkwo.
Yeah.
I would agree. But in passing situations, Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips need to be on the field ahead of Nick Westbrook-Akina. Now, I could see them putting Westbrook-Akina on the field ahead of Phillips, but I don't think that in passing situations. There was a game against the Texans in 2019. It was a really, really big game, and Anthony Ferguson pretty much handed it to the Texans, he and Ryan Suckup. And in it, right before halftime, it was a 2-minute drill. Titans are driving, and they throw a deep pass for A.J. Brown. And I think it's incomplete, and A.J. turns to the sidelines. And I could only see this because I was at the game sitting in my seats. And A.J. puts his fist up, which is he's calling for a sub. And Raymond goes into the game. So I'm watching the game in live time, and I'm thinking, like, they need to call timeout because they had him. It's the first half. Call timeout. Let A.J. get a breather, and then put A.J. Brown out there because they need A.J. Brown in the game. So I told Floyd that during a break on the following Monday. And I said, yeah, so Raymond checked in. Brown needed a blow. So I would have said call timeout, let Brown get a blow. And he looked at me with just this look of disgust on his face. And he was like, call timeout? He's like, no, he needs to get his fat ass in shape. And I've had that approach now with like everything here, which is if it's third in a passing situation here, I know what Westbrook-Akina can do. He's very limited. I need Traylon Burks on the football field. I need those players that have the potential to be able to make the big plays. I need them on the football field. And not Nick Westbrook-Akina. No offense. 615-737-1025. More your phone, 615-737-1025 here on the Titans. And then, of course, the big question that Mike Vrabel will probably have to answer, and he will do so with whom he starts tomorrow. But that's going to be the big question. Who's starting at quarterback? Vrabel was asked about it. I think it's pretty simple. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company. Fireball Hot Take Friday, 102.5-106. See the game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mainly sunny skies giving way to a few afternoon showers and storms, mainly east of downtown Nashville through the Cumberland Plateau. Daytime highs today in the upper 80s to low 90s. I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When I retire, I plan on being busy. Bird watching, cooking, traveling. I might even write a book. But I never thought I'd have to plan on being an expert on all things Medicare. Fortunately, with 75 years of experience helping Tennesseans, the experts at Farm Bureau Health Plans helped answer all my Medicare questions. So no matter what I plan on doing next, I understand all my options. Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Old Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
Blue Raider fans, Fan Day is back and better than ever. It's time to get ready for this electrifying season. Sunday, August 21st from 3 to 5. Join us inside Floyd Stadium as we kick off the 2022 MTSU athletics season. Don't miss live music from the popular band Everyday People, as well as countless family-friendly activities with inflatables, giveaways, photo booths, autographed photo sessions with the Blue Raider football team, and free food. Stock up on your Blue Raider gear as well. For more info on this year's Fan Day, visit GoBlueRaiders.com. Middle Tennessee, we are Blue Knighted.
Hi, I'm Chase McCabe. The Nashville Stampede Days are finally here this weekend at Bridgestone Arena. Friday through Sunday, you can get tickets by going to PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. Nashville Stampede, Justin McBride, the head coach, says he's very excited to add 3-time PBR world champion Silvano Alves to his team.
It's huge, man. That's, we're going to be able to start off the first game with Taiki Pacheco as a world champion, and in that game with Silvano Alves as the 3-time world champion. So Silvano brings a lot of experience, a lot of ability, obviously, but also some great leadership qualities for the young guys. As a guy that's been in a lot of big moments and has won those moments and been successful.
Again, Nashville Stampede Days will take place all this weekend at Bridgestone Arena. Just go to PBR.com/tickets or Ticketmaster.com. I'm Chase McCabe.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexroad.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Have you made a decision on who's starting at quarterback on Saturday night?
No. I'm going to try to digest this practice and make that decision.
Chance that maybe you want to look at Malik again and see how he
Sure,
handles it?
of course. Absolutely. We went through with a plan last week and, went through a plan to say, hey, we're going to put you back out there in the second half. Like to see you execute some things. He didn't, and so we deferred to Logan. So we'll continue to give everybody here that's earned opportunities, and he absolutely has. And, just want to digest this practice and, figure out a plan, for the game.
You think Mike Vrabel doesn't know who's going to start tomorrow?
I think he knows exactly who wants to start tomorrow.
Ian, you think Mike Vrabel knows who's going to start tomorrow after practice yesterday when he said he wanted to digest practice first?
Does he know now, or did he know when Teresa asked the question?
Both.
Well, he definitely knows now, and he probably had an idea yesterday, too.
Okay, here's the other part. The second question. Could it be Malik? Vrabel says absolutely. Who else would it be? Would it be Tannehill?
Logan Woodside.
I mean, if he hasn't decided who's going to start, Malik is obviously in the mix. There's one guy who is not a possibility to start tomorrow night.
Ryan
Tannehill.
Yeah.
He will not start tomorrow.
I think that's what Teresa was leading on with the question was, is it Woodside or Malik?
Right.
Obviously, it's not Tannehill.
Right. And so what did she expect him to say? Turn around and say, no, Malik, there's no chance Malik starts tomorrow. And then it's like, well, then is Logan going to win? Here's the thing.
Well, I guess maybe that's what she was trying to get at.
I am telling you, Malik will start tomorrow. I even asked Vrabel yesterday about why Logan has had less reps in practice, and he said it's because they have to get Malik ready because there's a limited amount of reps that go around in preseason and training camp and everything else. And then once the season gets going, the reps that the backup quarterbacks are going to get are reps that are, okay, you are Derek Carr, and Des Fitzpatrick on the practice squad over here is Devontae Adams, and here's the play they like to run. All right, try to stop it, Bayard. That's the plays the backup quarterback runs. Tannehill is going to be the one saying, okay, here's what we're trying to do. That's Azeez Ojulari right there. That's Dory Jackson right there. And now we're going to run this cut right here with Robert Woods. That's the difference between how those two practices work out once the season starts. It's pretty obvious to me it's going to be Willis tomorrow night. I got to tell you, this is going to sound crazy. I am not excited to watch Malik Willis quarterback tomorrow.
Why?
Because it's going to be the exact same as it was against the Ravens. It's going to be the exact same as it was in practice, which is Malik will show the talent, and we will see that cannon of an arm. We will see a nice run here or there, and we'll see him get sacked a couple times because he's going to stand in the pocket, hold the football just a little bit too long, and that's what it's going to be. Whereas I think people might think there's going to be some big change between last week and this week.
Well, how much of a big seismic change can you see within a week?
That's kind of my point, which is,
yeah.
And maybe this is because I go to practice. So, and not everybody has a chance to go to practice. So I get to see it, but I know where Malik is right now. And I know that baby steps are the route that he has to go in order to have them. But as far as like turning on the football game tomorrow night and watching that, I'm not sure I really want to watch it. I mean, I'm going to, but I'm not sure I'm excited to watch Malik, maybe break off a nice run at some point when the coach doesn't want him to run. And if it is Logan, the only reason it would be Logan is because they would play like Burks and McMath and Phillips.
And they want to get them the ball.
And they want to see those guys try to get open and then take everybody out and let Malik do whatever with Des Fitzpatrick and Reggie Robertson.
Well, what do you think the plan is? Malik starts, Logan Woodside comes in at the half, or is it going to be, okay, Malik, your leash is this long, so go do what you can with it? And how long is that leash?
I was thinking about that this morning. And it wasn't so much what do I think they'll do. It was Stringer, though I'm not convinced that's what's going to happen. Let's just say it is, though. In a perfect world, Malik gets this game and he gets the Arizona game, and Logan doesn't take a snap in those two games, and they go into the Giants and they feel comfortable with both guys.
Yeah.
I would understand the idea, though, of Vrabel wanting to see those receivers play with a guy that might emulate what Tannehill would do more likely than Malik is to do that. So I see both sides of it. I think my hope would be Malik gets this game, then I see what I need to see out of my receivers in the Arizona practices, and then Malik gets the whole Arizona game. But I would be prepared to use that first half of the Arizona game as a game for Logan to feel comfortable about him as Tannehill's backup and for those receivers that he might play with a little bit, and then take them out and put Malik and the practice squad crew out there for the rest of the Arizona game. Mm-hmm. But I would like to be able to play the whole practice squad crew in the Arizona game with Malik. So it's almost like the Arizona game is an option. And I use that as the option more than this, where this is I have time to get a backup quarterback ready too, while I'm trying to work on Malik right now. When I get to Arizona, I've got to be more focused on the 2022
And it's like it's almost
Titans.
like it's too late at this point to start experimenting and to see what you can do. Now we got to figure out what are we doing week 1 against the Giants.
Well, if I need the extra reps, then I know I have them in the Arizona game.
Which I feel like they probably do need.
But I don't know if they feel like they need that now. Phillips played 3 reps with Malik in the Baltimore game.
Mm-hmm.
That told me whatever it is they want Phillips to do, and we know what it is that they want Phillips to do. What it is that they want Phillips to do, Malik's not ready for that.
Yeah.
And so if I need to get Phillips some reps, although Phillips had great 2 practices, if I need to get Phillips some reps, maybe get him on the field tomorrow a little bit, but not saying I need game reps where the ball goes to him. If I need game reps where the ball goes to him, Arizona first half, Logan, come here. I want you to throw it to Kyle. That is different than, and I don't want them to do that to Malik.
And if you are Mike Vrabel, you say Malik goes in the full game. Is there an instance or a condition where, okay, Malik, no, you got to get out?
So Logan would have to be prepared to go into those games.
Yes.
Because if Malik gets hurt, someone has to play quarterback.
Well, of course.
And it ain't going to be Tannehill.
But is there a condition where, we saw in the Ravens game, Malik, we need you to throw the ball. You're not going to throw the ball. You're taken out.
Yeah, there has to be.
At some
has
point.
to be a
like something's got to give at some point if Malik can't do X, Y, and Z for
If
the Giants.
Malik is hurting the evaluation of the team, then Malik has to come out.
And that's probably where a lot of Vrabel's frustration stemmed from with the Ravens game.
But I don't necessarily need Malik to I don't need the Buccaneers game to evaluate the team. Like I would want the Buccaneers game to use to develop Malik.
Yeah.
DeJuan is up next on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. The call box says Malik hating. Go ahead, DeJuan.
Yeah, I'm not going to say you're a Malik hater, but I will say I wish you would be a little bit more optimistic about the kid because the coach staff did say he doesn't make the same mistake twice. If you had a sample size of 2 games and you did the same thing, I got you. But you got to say that he has that I don't know, like when you see him on the field, he has the it factor, but he's still a kid, and he went to a small school. So to come from a small school and still have that, okay, he has it in him, I would expect from you to be a little bit more optimistic. Because
I'll put it to you. I don't, DeJuan, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I think you make a very good point, and I do appreciate your call. It is not that I don't believe that Malik has talent. I absolutely think Malik has talent. It is what we're going to see from Malik tomorrow is what I saw from Malik in practice yesterday. It's what I saw from Malik last Thursday against Baltimore. And that's fine.
Because you're not going to make those massive changes within a week. And I feel like a lot of those changes you don't necessarily see. You don't watch TV and say, oh, my goodness, this looks like a completely different quarterback. I feel like those are gradual changes that happen over time that when we see Malik in the middle of the season next year and then watch him back from the Ravens game, that's where you're going to see those changes, not week to week.
Right. It's not like the guy who eats Subway sandwiches and loses 75 pounds and has a picture like, here was me before and here's me after. It's not like those pictures were 3 days apart.
No.
And that's
gradual
the
changes.
Same with the quarterback position. 615-737-1025. We did not do a good job of getting to your phones in that segment, so we will do this on the other side. Plus, the other quarterback. I, last week, before the Ravens game, put out all my locks for the roster. And I had 3 locks at quarterback. I don't have 3 locks at quarterback anymore. We'll discuss that next. Stillman & Company. On a Fireball Hot Take Friday, we have the best training camp coverage presented by Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, sounds win.
We talk the game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. Here are a few quick divorce tips that we provide our clients. Number 1, don't move out of your house just because your wife tells you to. Remember, that's your house too. And number 2, don't blow through the financial statements that you file with the court. These are key exhibits, and they often make or break your case. And number 3, watch the social networking. Expect your wife's lawyer to do a thorough online search. And incidentally, this is a two-way street. Now, a bonus tip. Partner with your attorney in assembling evidence. You're one of the 2 leading experts on your life and marriage. Your attorney needs your input to achieve your goals. And finally, talk to your attorney before taking action. Good luck.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit 1 per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game set. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 1063 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Fireball Hot Take Friday. So later today in the show, I will give, and if you're looking at the stream, I will have it up there right now, but my locks, my pre-Buccaneers Titans roster locks. So last week, before the Ravens game, if you're looking at the stream, I have my one from last week up here too. And Caroline, give you some credit. It's very organized and color coordinated.
It does look very nice.
And
very pretty.
And so last week I had 41 locks going into the Ravens game. This week I've got 45 locks. So there are dudes that have done their way, in my opinion, to be on the team. One guy who was a lock last week, Logan Woodside, I have in a red pin. If you look at the key at the top of my sheet, red equals good chance. Blue, if a player's name is in blue, for instance, Julius Chestnut, the running back, is in blue, that means that they have an outside chance of making the roster, and if there's a little PS next to their name, it means I envision them on the practice squad. Locks at quarterback. Last week, 3. This week, 2. Tannehill and Willis in black pen. Woodside in red. Good chance.
Ooh,
I have dropped Logan Woodside from a lock to a good chance to make this team. I asked Mike Vrabel after noticing that Logan didn't get a lot of reps in the Buccaneers practices. I asked him why that was. Here's what Vrabel said yesterday.
Mike, why has the rep count decreased for Logan?
Because, I just think that we have to continue to develop Malik in this system. And we've had conversations with Logan about, his opportunity to compete. But I also feel like, we have to try to see, how quickly we can bring Malik along. And I think that would be the reason why.
I don't think Vrabel's lying. But I think one of two things are true. And I don't know which one it is. Either they've decreased Logan Woodside's rep count because they know Logan Woodside will be the backup. They know what Logan's capable of. They know what they trust Logan with. And it's the same stuff that led them to believe that he was their guy, that if Tannehill rolled his ankle against the Ravens or the Bengals in the playoffs, that he was going to be out there with the game on the line for the Titans. Or
their minds are made up another way.
They think he sucks.
Yeah.
It's one or the other, and I don't know which one.
What do you think he means by, we've talked with Logan about his opportunity to compete?
So you noticed how in that, we actually talked about this yesterday when you were out. I guess one person, so I guess I
you
talked
and Ian.
about it. Yeah. It's like Michael Jordan one time said that they had talked it over about the triangle offense, and he was thinking about dropping it. They asked, who'd you talk it over with? Jordan goes, Myself.
Yeah. Mine made up.
So I talked about it yesterday on the show, which was, if you hear that cut, Vrabel's like, and we've talked with Logan about his situation to compete.
Uh-huh.
And so he had to stop himself and then think about what to say. My gut from hearing that is, I think Vrabel said, hey, man, you're the backup, but just know Malik's going to have to get the backup reps right now.
Is that what he means?
Again, if it's one of two things. If it's
Their minds are made up either way.
If it's either, hey, we know Logan, we trust Logan, Logan's the backup. Or if it's Logan sucks. And he's out of here, and the first guy that gets
released.
released.
Why even waste reps and time?
Right. The first Sean Mannion, John Wolford, Matt Barkley.
Blaine Gabbert.
First one of those guys released is going to be a Titan, and end of story. Which one do you think it is?
It's hard for me to answer that because I have my mind made up that Logan Woodside sucks. But I also, if I'm putting myself in Mike Vrabel's shoes, I think they just trust Logan Woodside for some reason. So I think it's, hey, we know Logan's going to be the backup. We know what Logan can do, so we need to go in and see what Malik can do. And we need to help him evolve in this offense.
So Ian and I, when we cut the clips for this show, and I send them via email to Ian, I label them with the date. So the clip for today, for instance, will be, what is today, the 20th?
8/19.
8/19/22. And when I put in 8/19, 8/19/2016 will come up in my computer where I have all these audio cuts saved, and I just haven't deleted them. 8/19/20 was the last thing that came up. Eric Bacharach, who was the Tennessean beat writer, who is now, I believe, a law student at Columbia and covers Major League Baseball for the Sports Business Journal.
Wow.
Eric Bacharach, when he was the beat writer covering the Titans, the cut was labeled Woodside's backup job to lose. So obviously this was the same topic
how history
2 years
repeats
ago,
itself.
And here we are now. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of the two. Phones are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Josh has been waiting patiently on Malik Willis. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey, guys. First, my hot take of the day is that Derrick Henry, this isn't really a hot take, but Derrick Henry will win Comeback Player of the Year, meaning that the Titans will have 2 out of the last 4 Comeback Players of the Year, with Tannehill winning it in 2019. So, I don't know. We'll see if that happens. But on Malik Willis, I don't know. I mean, if you watch some of the writers and stuff have released some videos of receivers running wide open the other night with Malik Willis. So you guys are out at practice. You see, I mean, is he getting a lot of balls batted down or intercepted? Is he?
So it's funny because you bring up the videos that are put out there, and even the people that are putting out the videos. And Josh, that was a good call and a good question. Even the people that are putting out the videos will tell you that's probably the least amount of information that we gather watching practice is from the things that they're allowed to shoot.
All the juicy stuff comes from what you can't
That's
shoot.
practically the warm-ups.
Yeah.
That
a lot of
everybody's allowed to
stretching,
see
a lot of
is,
drills.
Right. And then as soon as they start doing the fun stuff,
We have
that's
to put
when
our
they're like,
phones away.
no shooting.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny because fans At
fans
the practice,
can do whatever they
fans
want.
got their phones out. Like, I saw somebody's up there sitting up on the balcony taking videos that I saw on Instagram. Guys taking videos of 11 on 11. It's like exactly the formation that I'd like to see. And it's like,
nice
oh, God
for us
forbid
to go
somebody-
back and reference that from the videos that the fans put out. But, God forbid
Oh,
I
it's
pull
like
my phone
11
out
on
and it's,
11 videos.
hey, we're done here.
And now I got to stop talking because I feel like I'm narking on the fans. And I'm really not. I just think it's so laughable that these NFL teams are like, nobody dare ever tell
Like it's under
anybody
lock
anything
and
good
key.
to happen. Here's the problem, Malik. Here it is. I just keep saying this over and over again. This is from my vantage point. 1, Malik doesn't trust his instincts, and I understand that. 2, Malik holds on to the ball too long. 3, Malik throws it too hard. That's my takeaways on Malik. Everything Malik throws is a 99-mile-an-hour fastball that the catcher put one finger down on. I mean, he zinged one in there for a conquo for a touchdown yesterday, and he fired a rocket over somebody's head. I mean, with Malik, he's got one speed, fastball.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that throw to Torrey Carter to start the game. It's funny.
Zinger right over his head.
Kenny Pickett ran the same play in his first snap with the Steelers, and he dropped it off to the fullback, and the fullback turned up and gained about 18 yards. Malik, not that Carter shouldn't have caught the ball because he did throw it to him, and even if he's throwing it hot, Carter's got to catch it. But, I mean, he zipped that ball in there. What do we have the text line?
One texter texts in and says, if you don't like Malik, just say it. Malik was clearly better than Woodside last game. More yards, better completion percentage. Woodside threw 2 interceptions, and you would rather him back up Tannehill than Malik. Doesn't make sense after Vrabel already expressed.
Did I say that I'd rather Woodside back up Tannehill?
I don't know if you did.
I mean, somebody else is backing up Tannehill this year, and it ain't going to be Malik.
Maybe that's the point, that you would rather have either Woodside or another backup quarterback over Malik. But I think the important thing here is, if you're a Titans fan, you don't want Malik Willis to back up Ryan Tannehill. Knock on wood, if Ryan Tannehill goes down in a game and gets injured and Malik Willis has to come in, he's not ready to do that. So, and that's okay to say. Nobody ever accused Malik Willis of being ready to start in an NFL football game when he got drafted in the 3rd round.
Not that texter.
Well, is this texture in practice?
I don't know.
Malik Willis is not ready to play in an NFL game, and that's okay.
That's, again, this goes back to that battle I've been fighting. The stinks right now is applicable.
And it's not, we don't like Malik Willis, or I don't like Malik Willis. It's just, hey, Malik Willis needs a little bit more time. He was taken in the 3rd round. He played at Liberty. We all expect him to need a little bit more time.
He just stinks right now.
I've never seen more demanding for a 3rd-round quarterback than I have with Malik Willis and the Titans.
What did I tell you when they drafted him?
People are going to be calling for Malik.
I said 3rd-round pick with 1st-round hype.
615-737-1025.
We'll get more to your phones coming up. 615-737-1025. Corey Curtis, News 2, was on the broadcast last Thursday night on the Titans Network. We'll chat with Corey, get his thoughts ahead of the Buccaneers game. FanDuel Sportsbook app. The NFL Week 1 odds are out, and now's the time to give FanDuel a try. If you haven't already, get in on all the action early this season, because right now, FanDuel Sportsbook is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. So, for instance, you can get in on a futures bet. I would say there are certain ones that I feel pretty comfortable about. Trey Lance, 49ers, winning the West. I think get some pretty good odds on it. And there are so many other ones that you can go with as well. Like the Rams repeating, Derrick Henry winning the rushing title, and so much more. Just sign up using the promo code JGM to place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. There's no better place to get ready for the football season than on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days and restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Pink Floyd's Roger Waters. This is not a drill.
We're doing a show in the round. It's something new. I look forward to the challenge.
Featuring his songs from the golden era of Pink Floyd. Saturday, August 27th, Bridgestone Arena. Tickets at rogerwaters.com.
This is not a drill.
Produced by AEG Presents.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you are buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Hey, tune in for a doubleheader of Nashville Sounds baseball starting tomorrow at 4:05 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds are taking on Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Marlins. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Corey Curtis, News 2, usually joins us at this time, but let's go to your phones here. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com on the Titans.
One texter checks in and says, one day you love Malik, the next day you don't. Which is it?
When did I love Malik?
I don't know.
When did I not like Malik?
I feel like we've both been pretty consistent with our thoughts on Malik Willis. There are some things that he needs to work on. There are some things, some flashes that he's shown that he can do really well. He's not ready to start in the NFL right now, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad quarterback or that he's a bust.
Have I at any point said that Malik Willis was capable of playing in the NFL right now?
I don't believe
Ever.
so. It doesn't sound like
I haven't done that. I have been consistent with Malik, and that I thought that the Ravens game was a perfect example for everybody about what Malik is right now, which is he's incredibly talented. I mean, that sidearm throw that he made out of the backfield,
great throw.
That is, I mean, it's not a great throw, but it's a talented throw. You know, Mahomes can make that kind of throw. But the run, like, that is a really talented play. Like, that's the touchdown run. Those are things that the just normal guy can't do. But also, Malik had to come out of the game because the Titans couldn't evaluate any of the other players with him in there. That's a guy who can't play in the NFL. He certainly can't be your backup quarterback if you have a game plan with Ryan Tannehill and you're going up against the Dallas Cowboys and there's, 47 plays they've put in for this specific game. And Malik hasn't practiced any of them, and now he's going out there and being asked to run them. He can't do that. And I don't know why anybody would even ask him to do that. I don't even know why anybody would want to ask him to do that. And so I don't think there is any chance, zero, that Malik Willis starts the season as the backup quarterback for the Titans. And I'd be stunned if at any point Malik Willis is at all this season the backup quarterback for the Titans. But I believe that the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing new. I mean, I went into training camp with an open mind because I had never really seen Malik Willis play. But it didn't take long in training camp for me to think, yeah, this guy, he's not gonna be on the field. And it's like I said, the whole stinks right now thing. People take that as if it's like an indictment of his character, or if it means that he'll never be good. Or Josh Allen was terrible as a rookie. He stunk. I beat the Titans, but he stunk. And now Josh Allen doesn't stink. And that is what the hope would be for Malik, is that Malik stinks right now, and then in the future doesn't stink. But this idea of like, oh, I love Malik or I hate Malik no. If somebody thinks that Malik doesn't belong in the NFL or doesn't have the potential to be a good NFL player, I don't agree with that. If somebody thinks Malik should be able to play right now, I don't agree with that either. That's how I feel about Malik. What else we got?
Adam in Portland texts in and says, why did Kyle Phillips fall in the draft? He looked much better than Treylon Burks.
So it's funny. I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. Remember when Cole Beasley was out there? I still think Cole Beasley's out there.
I think so.
But when Cole Beasley was out there before the draft, and people were talking about spending money on a slot receiver, and there was talk about drafting a guy that could be a good slot receiver. And I said, don't draft slot receivers high in the draft. Every really good slot receiver that is a pure slot. Like D-Mace was a great slot receiver, but he played outside. The guys that are just purely slot receivers, Edelman, for instance, that's an undrafted free agent usually. Like that is usually
he's just special
a seventh
and played
round
with Tom
guy.
Brady.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that what those guys have, the quick feet and the shiftiness and the route tree combos with the quarterback, that is not incredibly difficult to get. Those guys aren't big. Those guys aren't fast, long striders like a Demaryius Thomas. Those guys are, quick, shifty, get out there, get the ball, Adam Humphries. That's what those guys are. And they're very useful, but they're not Jamar Chase. And so Kyle Phillips was strictly a slot receiver and a punt returner. That goes in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round undrafted. That's where those guys go. Pull up Adam Humphries, where he was drafted. Because Adam Humphries had a nice little role on the Titans before the game at Cincinnati in which he got absolutely decapitated by Jesse Bates. And he was never healthy again for the season. Played one game against the Browns where Tannehill threw him a ball square in the hands. It popped in the air and they intercepted it. And that was it for Adam Humphries with that big salary with the Titans. And let me guess, undrafted.
Yes.
See, that's where that guy is. And I know it's like, wow, look at Kyle Phillips get open and catch these passes. And look, yes.
That's his job.
But again, Kyle Phillips isn't big. Kyle Phillips isn't fast. Kyle Phillips can't play on the outside. Outside of returning punts, he doesn't play special teams. Those slot-only guys are 7th round, 6th round. And Phillips, so it's my way of saying, like, for what Phillips is, he's probably drafted kind of high. But the Titans probably wanted that slot receiver with that specific skill set, and they said, let's take it in the 5th and not try to wait on the 6th or the 7th in order to do it. And it's worked out for him. And it's like Kinsey. If Mason Kinsey played on a team with Tom Brady, and he was the only slot receiver they had, which is what Scotty Miller, who had an okay 2 days, but that's what Scotty Miller is for Tampa Bay. Scotty Miller caught a touchdown pass in the NFC Championship game. That guy, Brady could make Mason Kinsey into a really, really, really good slot receiver. Kinsey's an undrafted guy, and they can get him on the practice squad. And if they can't get Kinsey to the practice squad, which they can, Kinsey, by the way, led the Titans in receiving last preseason. Mm-hmm. If they can't get Kinsey to the practice squad, they'll get Terry Godwin, who does a lot of the same things, onto the practice squad. It's just not a valuable position. It's like the punter for the Bills that punted the ball 80 yards the other day. I think they drafted him in like the 6th round, and the Ravens drafted their punter in the 4th round. And if I'm drafting a punter in using a high pick on a punter, he better be Ray Guy. Like, that's how good that punter better be. And slot receiver, while has more of an impact than punter, that's what that is. A guy who's really, really big, a guy who's really, really strong, a guy who's really, really fast, those things go in the 1st round, not slot receivers. What's next?
Indy Ben texts in and says, I've said it before and I will say it again, Malik Willis is a faster version of Tyrod Taylor with a stronger arm.
I don't know, man. Tyrod Taylor's bounced around the league for a long time. Tyrod Taylor has started a lot of games. Tyrod Taylor went to the playoffs as a starter and then lost his job. I think there's a chance that Malik Willis never becomes Tyrod Taylor.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a bad way.
He will never get to the level of Tyrod Taylor.
Right, where Tyrod Taylor has consistently been a French starter in the NFL for
But
the last 6
to
years.
Ben's point, if he's Tyrod Taylor who's but faster with a stronger arm, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor's a French starter. Give him a better arm. Make him faster.
He could be a starter.
Probably an actual starter. I mean, I think, Mark Dominic said this to me on Sirius, and I really have thought a lot about it about the value of Willis. And that is that a third-round quarterback, even if the guy becomes a backup, there is still good value for the Titans in regards to what Willis has become.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if the Titans view Malik as a backup. I don't know if they view him as the heir apparent to Tannehill. I don't know if they're if they're not sure yet. I don't know. But I certainly don't think that I can put a label on it right now. I mean, again, the Man in the Arena docuseries, which is the Tom Brady docuseries, in the first episode, Drew Bledsoe is one of the guests. And Drew Bledsoe says that when they drafted Brady in the 6th round and he was in the quarterback room, Bledsoe really, really liked Brady. And that it didn't take long for Bledsoe to realize Tom's going to be in this league for a long time as a backup. And I think there's a big difference between the two. And obviously Bledsoe was wrong and everybody was wrong and everything else. But I think there's a difference.
You don't have
between
those
the two.
expectations for a 6th-round pick.
Well, I'm watching Kyle Trask the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyle Trask looks much improved.
Yeah.
But
As
he
a
still
backup.
looks like a backup. And Blaine Gabbert out there looked like a backup. And that's what he is. And Blaine Gabbert was taken in the 1st round. I asked Mike Mularkey one time about, J.P. Lossman was taken in the 1st round when he was the coach of Buffalo. And they weren't any good. And he wasn't any good. Blaine Gabbert was taken in the 1st round the year before Mularkey got to Jacksonville. And he wasn't very good. In fact, Mularkey benched Blaine Gabbert and played Chad Henne instead. And he wasn't very good. And I asked Mike, I said, so how's Marcus going to be any different from these guys? And Mike told me in a very, very nice way, well, Marcus is better than those guys. Like, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Marcus has been a backup for the last 2 years, what's Marcus right now?
A backup.
No, he's
Well,
starting.
he's a starter.
He's starting.
But is he's not a starter. Is he just a quarterback that is starting? Because I think there's a difference.
Blaine Gabbert never got that chance. Blaine Gabbert was in Jacksonville. Everywhere he's been since then, San Francisco, here, Tampa Bay, he's been the backup.
I think Marcus has just been fortunate to be able to fit in with the Falcons with a very unfortunate situation. And that
Sure.
the Falcons didn't really have another option at
Well,
quarterback.
I didn't say he was a premier starter.
No,
but he
is a starter.
He's a starter.
But is he one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league?
I think he is. Somebody
Really?
Somebody is giving him a chance. Somebody is giving him a chance to start, which Blaine Gabbert never got except for when Colin Kaepernick was stinking it up for San Francisco and they put Gabbert in there. And the biggest problem with Marcus is Marcus can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus is getting a chance. Like, the league views him as a starter. Just like the league Geno Smith got benched with the Jets, and he's been with the Giants and with Seattle, and he's never gotten a chance to start since then, and he's about to lose that too in Seattle where they don't have a quarterback. So that's kind of the difference here in the league between starters and backups, and maybe Mariota is a backup. And I did have somebody on the Mularkey coaching staff that after the Titans had success with Tannehill told me, well, that's great and all, but we made the playoffs and won a playoff game with Marcus, and we love Marcus, but Marcus is a backup.
Mm-hmm.
That's what one of the coaches told me. So, there's a line of delineation, whereas, like, Tannehill is clearly a starter in the NFL, even though he might not be the best starter. But there's no guarantee that Malik is going to even get to that line. That's all. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Trevor Maddich had a take yesterday. The Tennessee Volunteers are not in the original AP Top 25. We'll get to Trev's thoughts on it and why, honestly, with all of the hype that the Vols fans are putting on this football season, I feel like Tennessee better be a top 25 team. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks,
the physicality,
Robert Woods,
route concepts, and how to get open.
Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Dirk Bentley. Beers on Me Tour 2022. This Friday, Bridgestone Arena. I'm a little bit holy water, but still a little bit burning. Dirk Bentley, live in concert. Yeah, I'm somewhere on a beach. If you don't come through, buddy, that's on you, cause the beer's on me. On sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Skyline offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Dickerson Road location specialize in general orthopedics, arthroscopic surgery for general orthopedics and sports medicine, hip, knee, and shoulder, as well as hand, wrist, and elbow trauma. They offer same-day appointments, too, so you can get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment now at tn.houston.com. Conveniently located at the TriStar Skyline Medical Center in Nashville. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Trevor, Tennessee is the number 1 team that is receiving votes, not in the top 25 poll. Do you think they will be a top 25 team this season?
I do. I do, because Tennessee has got the offense to score a whole lot of points, and that gives the defense the advantage of not having to stop everybody. All they need to do is go after the football between the 20s, try to get some turnovers. If you don't, just tackle them before they score a touchdown, get into the red zone and tighten up, force a few field goals, and all of a sudden that offense can take over and force other offenses out of their game plan. So, Tennessee has a chance to be really good. It will all depend on whether some young receivers step up and whether the offensive line, which has a lot of experience coming back, can be better at pass protection for Hendon Hooker. If that happens, though, Tennessee has the ability to cobble together some wins that people wouldn't expect them to be able to pull off.
There you go. That was Trevor yesterday on the show. AP top 25 poll. BYU is 25 with like 240-something points. And Tennessee with like 160 points is the first team out. So apparently everybody's made up their mind on who the 25 best teams are. And supposedly there's a humongous gap between that and 26, which we know is not reality with college football.
Right.
And there are very few things that matter less than the original AP Top 25 poll. And let me say this about AP voting, because I've been an AP voter before. They don't know anything. So keep all of that.
And it's all speculation. And every year fan bases get so mad because they're not in the top 25 or they're 11 instead of 10. And preseason, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Now, Tennessee.
Yes.
Trevor says he thinks Tennessee will be a top 25 team this year. Do you know the last time Tennessee finished in the top 25 over the course of a season?
2016.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
I am stunned you pulled that out.
Thank you. Why?
I don't know. It's a very random fact. I'm surprised you actually know it. How do you know it?
Well, that was the year that they beat both Florida and Georgia. And they really haven't been all that great ever since then.
Oh, they weren't great ever since they beat Georgia. Right after that, they turned around, lost South Carolina and Vanderbilt.
And that's the reason why they didn't win the
making
East.
the Sugar Bowl. And when they didn't make it to the Sugar Bowl, a lot of people got upset. And ever since then, Tennessee hasn't ended the season in the top 25. They did at one point in 2020 get to 14th in the AP Top 25 poll. Here's what I'm going to say about this. It's time for Tennessee to end up in the top 25 poll. So I don't care about the preseason poll, where they're the last team out. But I believe that in order for this season to be a success for Josh Heupel, Tennessee must end the season inside the top 25. They end the season at 22, that will be a step forward for the program. If they end the year woulda, coulda, shoulda, that will be a step back for the program. But these Tennessee fans, I mean, when it comes to the football season, I don't care about these little things. About these freshmen that I've never heard of, or transfer portals, or, oh, man, they practiced, this guy threw to that guy, and this one did. And obviously I'm not a Vols fan. I've never claimed to be. But I need you guys you got to bring the interesting to me. I don't have to find things about you to be interested in. So Tennessee's got to bring the interesting to me. And if they can't get in the top 25 in an SEC East that has one good team and everybody else freaking stinks, the second best team in the East is a basketball school, as it has been well documented over the last week in Kentucky. I mean, if you want to, I'm so tired of this because it happens with all the passionate fan bases of the SEC, which is really all of them except for Vanderbilt. And I should say the East, because the West doesn't usually get like this, because Mississippi State knows their place. But when it comes to the preseason, I mean, it's like every year I see something that's like, Shane Beamer is out there this year ready to prove that South Carolina belongs. You take that seriously?
No.
No. And so Tennessee, the Vols who cried wolf, this year they're pumped because they scored a bunch of points last year, like Trevor said. And now it's time to go walk the walk. And I'm not even saying like, oh, hey, they need to make it to Atlanta, or they need to beat Georgia, or they need to do anything big. I'm just saying they just have to end the season in the top 25 this year, or else it's a bad season. So binary right now. In the year in the top 25, good season. In the year outside of the top 25, bad season. Fair or foul?
I think that's fair. But, like, looking back at the top 25 at the end of last season,
okay,
absolute bare minimum, Tennessee would have to win 9 games to sneak their way into the top 25.
Why?
Just based off of last season.
Well, the 25th team had 9 wins, is what you're saying.
No, the 25th team had 12 wins, but it was San Diego State.
Okay, was there
the fewest wins by any team in the top 25 was 9. NC State and Arkansas both had 9 wins. NC State 9-3, Arkansas 9-4.
And NC State won some real games.
And also Arkansas winning 9 games in the SEC West.
NC State beat Clemson. Arkansas beat Texas A&M last year.
So you're going to have big marquee wins to be a 9-win team and make it into the top 25. Like Texas A&M snuck into 25 in the coaches poll with going 8-4 because they beat Alabama. So the Vols are going to have at least 9 wins with a marquee win in there, whether that's LSU, Georgia, Alabama, a big win like that. Otherwise, they're going to have to win 10 or 11 games.
They're going to have to win every game except for those 3 games.
Pretty much, yeah.
Who's every game except for those 3 games?
You got Pitt.
They should win that.
They should win that.
Pittsburgh lost their quarterback, who was the best quarterback in the country, or at least the top draft pick in the country.
Yep.
They lost the quarterback. They lost the receiver, who was, I think, the best receiver in the country, went to USC. So Pittsburgh, sorry, they should beat Pittsburgh.
They should beat Pittsburgh, yes.
Okay.
And they've got Florida, which I think they should win. And then they've got LSU, Alabama.
Should they beat LSU?
I don't know, because I don't know what LSU is going to be. Like, so many of LSU games, I would say at least half of LSU schedule, if not more, I view as all toss-up games just because I don't know how good they're going to be. And then Kentucky, Georgia, they should beat Missouri, they should beat South Carolina, they should beat Vanderbilt. So Kentucky, Georgia, LSU, Alabama, maybe Florida if you want to throw them in there. That all depends on those games. Because Tennessee should win all the rest of these games. But if they lose at Pitt, to me, I don't see any way of Tennessee getting into the top 25.
Give me the schedule in order.
Ball State.
Win.
Pitt.
So by week 2, you could make the argument that Tennessee might not make it into the top 25 at the end of the year.
If you can't beat Pitt, how are you going to beat Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Florida? All of those games.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about your program. I don't want to hear about your program, about how entitled for respect your program feels. If it's like, well, if we can't beat Kentucky, then I don't want to hear that. That's why they're the Vols who cried wolf, and it's their fans. And it's just really the way that entire program carries itself.
But I think a lot of people are really high on Tennessee going into this season. One, because Florida, I think a lot of people assume they're going to take a step back. So people see Tennessee as that team to kind of sneak into the second spot in the East. And because Tennessee had such a fun offense to watch last year. But let's not forget that Tennessee went 7-6 last year. It's not like Tennessee had a 10-win season. So can they build upon that? And once they have Hendon Hooker, they have their quarterback situation, figured out. Hendon Hooker starting the season. Can they win those games that they lost last year? They lost that game against Pittsburgh last year because Joe Milton was the starting quarterback and he overthrew just about damn near every single receiver. Would they have won that game if Hendon Hooker started the game? I don't know, but they didn't win it.
You know what's so classic Tennessee fans, too?
What?
There is no blame on the coach for that. There is no looking back
it's
at
all
it
Joe Milton.
and saying, how could the coach have screwed this up so badly? And yet, it's the Rick Barnes has been making money off of that for the last 5 years.
It's the credit to the coach for making the change, but not, a critique of the coach for not figuring out that Hendon Hooker was the better quarterback.
Yeah, it's a two-way street here.
Yeah.
So do you think they're going to end up a top 25 team this year? Will they finish the season in the top 25? I can tell by the look on your face I already know the answer.
I think I do.
No, you don't. You don't want to say no, but no.
It's hard. I think I would put them in the top 25 by the end of the season.
Ian, do you think the Vols will be in the top 25 at the end of this season?
That is a good question. I think I'm going to lean slightly no.
I'm going to go with no, too. And the number one reason I'm going to go with no is because I'm so tired of assuming that because Tennessee was good at football 20 years ago, that they should be granted this entitlement to being treated like they're going to be good now. You just brought up all those games they have to win.
Yeah.
Let's just assume they're not going to beat Georgia and Alabama.
I think those are fair assumptions.
Take those out of it.
You're
That's
looking
pretty
at
obvious.
Pitt, Florida, LSU, Kentucky.
Okay.
I think they probably split those games.
And so that makes them, 8-4?
That makes them, 4 loss, 8-4.
Okay. They can't
so
lose.
You're probably on the outside of the top 25.
They can't lose one more of those games. And if there's anything I've learned about the Vols playing games against teams like LSU and Florida, it is that even if they don't have good teams, inevitably Tennessee will find a way to lose that game. So I'm going to history is going to tell me, just like the Music City Bowl, they had no freaking business losing that game.
No business.
And then, of course, the replay of the refs said, no.
That was a bad call.
I don't want any more.
It was a bad call.
I watched the officials in the replay room. I talked to some people afterwards, not going to say who. The refs on the call totally screwed it up.
They
but
totally
on the
screwed
field,
it
the ones
up.
on the field screwed it up.
Totally screwed
The ones
it
in the
up.
booth couldn't do anything about it. But I don't want to hear any crying, because it's like Derek Jeter in his documentary was like, he said he was going over how the years they won the World Series, he doesn't really get too excited about, but the years that they lost the World Series, he felt like they had a better team against the Marlins when they lost to them, felt like they had a better team against Arizona when they lost to them. And he's like, and now I sit here feeling like a loser, because that's what losers do, is they talk about no more. None of that. And I'm not asking for something big. I'm not asking for the Tennessee Volunteers to go out there and win the East. I'm not asking them to beat Georgia or Alabama. I'm not asking them to do anything special. I'm not even asking for them to make a real bowl game. I am asking for them to make it into the top 25, to be better than San Diego State was at the end of last year. Is that too much to ask?
I don't think so. I think that's a very fair ask.
615-737-1025 or to your thoughts on that. Plus, the one thing that I feel like nobody's talked about this offseason with Tennessee. We'll get to that coming up next. Fireball Sin Whiskey goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There's so much to be excited for this weekend, including, of course, football. And we've got, I think, the bull riding is here. So much to be excited about.
I'll be there tonight.
No better way. There you go. There's no better way to celebrate it than with ice-cold Fireball Sin Whiskey. Goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Fireball Sin Whiskey, ignite tonight. Please do it responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Sin Whiskey.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Mainly sunny skies giving way to a few afternoon showers and storms, mainly east of downtown Nashville through the Cumberland Plateau. Daytime highs today in the upper 80s to low 90s. I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try Ziprecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Right now, get half off a $30 gift card at theGameNashville.com/deals. Old School Pizza features New York style thin crust made fresh to order from imported Italian flour that gives a unique flavor and crunch. Check out Happy Hour every weekday afternoon from 3 to 5 for half off selected appetizers and draft beer. Have pizza the old school way at Old School Pizza in Brentwood. OldSchoolPizzaBrentwood.com.
The stage is set. The rumors are true. The wait is over. My Chemical Romance. Live. The 2022 tour. This Tuesday night, Bridgestone Arena. My Chemical Romance with special guests Turnstile, and Dilly Dally. Tickets are on sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com. My Chemical Romance in concert.
Robbie Stanley.
It really doesn't matter until the pads come on and you have to hit each other, you have to block.
Joe Rexrode.
Reliable, go out and make some plays for you. Solid player.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Here's my hot take.
Okay.
Of the day. Well, it might be of the hell of the year. Tennessee will beat Georgia.
They'll beat Georgia?
Whoa.
They will beat Georgia.
Well, I will say that.
Why so confident?
I think Georgia has too many holes they got to replace on defense. That was a stout defense last year. I mean, those guys, they had, 3 first-rounders on that defensive front with the linebackers and the D-line. They got a lot to replace.
That was D. Mace's hot take that he thinks Tennessee not in the AP Top 25 preseason, which honestly, who gives a crap about the preseason Top 25? But that they're going to beat the defending national champions who are currently third in the AP Top 25. And I think they're third for one reason, Georgia. It's the Ryan Tannehill syndrome. It's like, why is the FanDuel Sportsbook, why does everybody have the Titans behind the Browns in the AFC rankings?
The quarterback.
Because everybody thinks Tannehill sucks.
Yeah.
Why is Georgia behind Alabama and Ohio State?
Everyone thinks that Stetson Bennett sucks.
Everybody thinks he sucks. Now, the one thing that never gets talked about with Tennessee, and all I'm asking for this year is for them to finish the season inside the top 25, which is not a big ask. What are the 2 of the 4 games they have to win this year?
It's between Pitt, LSU, Kentucky, Florida.
Okay.
So you're penciling in Alabama and Georgia as losses.
Yes. Nobody ever talks about this with Josh Heupel, and I thought Josh Heupel did an okay job last year. Nobody ever talks about this. His teams got worse every year he was at UCF. They were 12-1 his first year. I believe they won 10 games his second year. I believe they won 8 games his third year. And I'm not saying that means he's a bad coach.
That was at 18, 19, 20?
Yes. And I'm not saying that that's...
His quarterback did get hurt in the 18 season, 19 season. And I know that you can reload and,
at some point,
a
quarterback he didn't recruit got hurt, and this quarterback guru didn't bring in another quarterback.
Has anyone ever called him a quarterback guru?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's an offensive coach who played quarterback and won a national championship. He was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. Like, that is quarterback. I mean, he was replaced by Lincoln Riley. Everybody thinks Lincoln Riley's a quarterback guru.
He is not a quarterback guru.
Lincoln Riley?
No.
Everybody thinks he is?
But he's not.
But they think he is.
But are we not going to talk about the fact that
Kyler Murray,
not his
Jalen Hurts,
not his recruits?
Those are all his guys, except for Baker wasn't his guy, but
Kyler wasn't his guy either.
I think Kyler was his guy.
I'm pretty sure Stoops recruited Kyler.
No,
and then his first guy, Rattler, comes in and he gets benched.
No, because the first year Lincoln was quarterback was the year that Baker won the Heisman. So that means that Kyler came in after that.
But he had to have been recruited before that by Stoops.
Well, they were all recruited by all those guys were recruited by everybody in the country when they were coming into high school, except for Baker, who's a walk-on at Texas Tech. But, Jalen Hurts is his guy.
Yeah, I guess so. Transfer guy, yeah.
He was the coach. So, I just got to say, I'm just saying, just throwing that out there about Heupel. I do want to get to your phones, though. What do we have? Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. And I'm not anti-Heupel. Nobody ever brings it up. What do we have?
Bo in Murfreesboro texts in and says, the biggest question Tennessee must answer in 2022 is, can Hendon Hooker repeat what he did in 2021? If he can't do that, they will win 8 games, in my opinion, and depending on how serious they are about a bowl game, they should finish 9-4, and that would put them in the top 25.
So I have no qualms with Hooker. I have no qualms with Hendon Hooker. I think he's a good college quarterback. I don't think he's a great college quarterback. When I think of great college quarterback, I think of Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. I certainly don't think he belongs in the discussion with those kind of players. I don't think he's a bad college quarterback, but, I think he's like the worst Clausen brother. He's at that level, maybe a little bit better, but I think he's fine. I'm not worried about Hooker. He'll be fine this year. It's like a 9th-year senior. He'll be fine. The real question is if they get the same hooker with the same receivers and the same offensive guru coach that chucks it up and down the field and they still can't win, then what? That's the bigger question.
And it's the defense. It all comes down to the defense.
Absolutely.
Because Tennessee can score 85 points a game, but they might give up 87 in the process.
Can they score up 85 against the good teams?
I mean, I'm obviously being
no,
very
but I know what you're saying.
there.
But can they go out there? Because I agree with the
to be fair,
Big 12.
Georgia had the best defense in the country last year, and Tennessee put up more points against Georgia than any other team on their schedule other than Alabama.
But was that game ever close?
No, it wasn't.
So, and I have to go back to watch to remember what happened. But I do wonder if that's one of those ones.
The
where
game got
Georgia
away
was
from
like,
them in the
hey,
second
let's
half.
just go ahead and let it ride and everything else. Because that's how those offensive teams are. Offensive teams put up points against everybody. The problem is that when they get beat like 63-35. They still scored their 35, but they gave up so
63,
many.
yeah.
That's like that Big 12. Cliff Kingsbury with Mahomes, they put up all kinds of points, but they had no defense, and they would lose games 75, 65, and honestly, I don't even like watching football in the Big 12 like that. What else we got?
Another texter checks in and says, I'm not upset when my team isn't in the top 25. I'm a long time as NC State fan, and it's not expected. The preseason just doesn't matter.
That's why we're not saying does it matter that they're not in the top 25 preseason, because we don't care.
And the preseason poll is such a gets fan bases so riled up where their team is or why they're not in it. But once that game one kicks off, nobody cares. It's just something to complain about and something to be mad about
there
for
are
the
so
time
many
being.
games in week one of the college football season. It's more unexpected than the NFL. There are games in week one of the college football season where it's like, holy crap, the 7th team in the country just got beat by West Virginia.
Look at Oklahoma Tulane last year. Tulane almost beat Oklahoma week one. It was a very close game. And like Cincinnati plays Arkansas week one this year. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a very close game if Cincinnati doesn't beat Arkansas that week.
Well, aren't they, not to reference the preseason top 25, but isn't like Cincinnati 23rd and Arkansas 22nd?
Preseason, somewhere around there. I think Arkansas is like in the teens and Cincinnati's bottom 20s. Yeah.
It's because they got a quarterback. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says the Vols will win 10 games. Book it.
How do we get to 10 here?
Would that be...
Give me the gimmies, right? Ball State.
The gimmies are
Vandy.
Ball State, Akron, Tennessee, Martin, Missouri, South Carolina, Vanderbilt.
So that's what, 6?
6.
Okay, so now I have to get to 4.
So I would say if you get to 10, you would have to beat that 4-game stretch of Pittsburgh, LSU, Kentucky, Florida.
Because the rest is Georgia and Alabama.
Georgia and Alabama.
You know, Jeremy Pruitt would have gotten to 10 if they hadn't lost to Georgia State and BYU.
Man.
But they did. And so I just no excuses. You want to say they're going to win 10 games this year? Fine. You might be right. But I'm not expecting them to do. All I'm saying is that, and I haven't even said I think I did say that I didn't expect them to make the top 25 this year. I just think it's a binary season this year. Do they have a good season? Did they finish the season in the AP top 25? If it's yes, it's a good season. If it's no, then it's a bad season. Because I don't know how long a team can continue to finish outside of the top 25 and still claim to be a power program. Now, how many years in a row do you get of not finishing inside the AP top 25 before you are no longer a power program?
3.
Okay, well, they've already passed that.
6. Yeah, they've doubled that.
615-737-1025. Speaking of people with expectations, Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, talked about his expectations for the Colts and what it means about the Titans and what he said. Should the Titans feel disrespected about what Jim Irsay is saying? We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Heads up. 106.3 FM is a new way to hear 102.5 The Game from downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and on I-24 to Murfreesboro.
Make sure you have that preset on your radio dial.
We're making it even easier to listen to Nashville's best sports talk.
Because we have a great show planned for you today.
Tune in to 106.3.
That's what makes this team better.
And hear the difference.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Some people were made to follow the instructions. We were made to make our own. To always measure twice and never cut corners. Unless, of course, we've got a compound miter saw. Northern Tool and Equipment is a problem solver's paradise. There's nothing we can't find, fix, or figure out together. We're made for this. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. So don't let it sit there. Use it. Willie Donick here for my friends once again at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home. And the payments are crazy low. Think what you could do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal. Don't just let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Center flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stone & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios, Fireball Hot Take Friday. So Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, had, I guess, a State of the Colts press conference at the joint practices with the Detroit Lions. Now, I did not see this. I only saw somebody text us into the text line yesterday. I probably should have read up on the Colts-Lions practices. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed in myself that I haven't.
That's all right.
But apparently the Colts had like 6 chances inside the red zone to punch it in against Detroit and couldn't do it.
Against Detroit.
I guess. And this is on the heels of, and we'll get a full breakdown of the inside scoop on that because that'll be on Hard Knocks next week. But this is on the heels of their pitiful performance on Saturday against the Bills, second string up in Orchard Park. Well, Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, had like a State of the Union press conference at training camp. And yes, the Titans are clearly on Jim Irsay's mind.
You know, we know going into it, it's about Tennessee. It's about winning the division. It's about going against those guys who have been very tough. And they do a great job there and getting their players ready to play football in a tough physical way. So it's always tough going against those guys, but we know that's what we have to do. That's what we have to overcome if we want to get where we want to get.
So Jim Irsay, when talking about how where he gets where he wants to get, Ian, if I can get the other Irsay cut, he was then basically asked about where it is to get where they want to get. This is what Jim Irsay said.
You've won one playoff game since, I think, 2014. I know where your standards are, what you want. Does this feel like a team to you that can change that? And where is the bar for you for success this season?
Well, it's to go and get that next Lombardi trophy. Listen, since 2000, we've won more. You know, we're the fourth winningest team in the National Football League with just 3 in front of us. And that's something to be said over such a long period of time.
So Jim Irsay clearly wants to win in the Super Bowl. In fact, the whole 10-minute press conference, the big takeaway from all the people covering it was Jim Irsay wants to, basically set up the next era of Colts football. I think basically Jim Irsay wants to develop a consistent winner before he dies.
Yes.
That's what I think he's probably not saying directly, but probably indirectly. He talked about the Steelers, the Packers, all the organizations that go from one great era to the next great era.
Bringing Indianapolis into the modern Super Bowl era.
And I think that would be, again, I want to leave this team, another Lombardi and leave this team out on top.
Of course.
Jerry said something similar. But what do we make about the Jim Irsay just, it starts with Tennessee. We know that they're a great football team. They're always well coached. They're always ready to play. It's always about Tennessee. What do we make of that? Because I have a pretty strong take on this, but I'm willing to not go first if somebody else wants to.
Well, I just think it shows that I think the Titans live rent-free in Indianapolis' minds, and they view Tennessee as that one hiccup, that one, barricade between the Colts and making a playoff run. That they see Tennessee as that barricade, that they need to get past it.
Who's they?
The Colts.
Who's the Colts? You think Reich sits there in his office and thinks about Tennessee? Think Ballard is worried about Tennessee?
Probably.
See, to me,
why wouldn't they be?
I think it's Irsay. And this is why
of course it's Irsay.
This is why I think it's a big deal. Right, it's a big deal that he said it. I think if they don't beat the Titans, they're getting fired. I think that is the line of demarcation now. Ballard and Reich is, if we don't beat the Titans this year, everybody in this building's getting fired. Zach Kiefer reported, and I think this comes right from Irsay. Zach Kiefer reported over the offseason that after they lost to the Titans in the second game, so it was the overtime win where Byard picked off Carson Wentz, Randy Bullock hit the field goal, Derrick Henry broke his foot, and the Titans won. And the Titans, it's hard to remember this, the Titans were horrible in that game. Tannehill was horrendous. And then they got Carson Wentz to make 3 big mistakes, one of which was Reich-induced. The other one probably could have been Reich-induced, but Carson Wentz totally blew that game. And I think from that moment on, Irsay was done with Wentz. And then when Wentz, the COVID issue, the Raider game, the Jags game, it's like, get this freaking guy out of here. But it was the Titans game that Carson Wentz completely melted down in that I think Irsay, at that point, he was done. And there's all the old stories about Bud Adams when he owned the Titans. And it was, don't you dare lose to the Texans. And if you lose to the Steelers, you better have a darn good reason for doing it. Mm-hmm. He hated, it was a rivalry with the Steelers, but it was an embarrassment to lose to the Texans. It was personal with Houston. And I think that with Irsay, with the Titans, it is, he looks at the Titans and he sees what FanDuel Sportsbook that has the Colts as, minus 125 to win the division, the Titans at plus 170. He looks at the Titans like everybody else does. We asked Steve Tasker earlier this week about who are the contenders in the AFC, and he went over about 13 teams, and he didn't mention the Titans. And every time we talk about the people that don't give the Titans any credit, in spite of the fact that they've won the division twice in a row, they've been to the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years, they went to the AFC Championship game, they got the best running back in football, they got the reigning coach of the year, they got a great defense that got 9 sacks in a playoff game. We know the reason why everybody doesn't give the Titans respect.
The quarterback.
They think he sucks. And that's what Jim Irsay is telling us. Jim Irsay is telling us, I'm freaking tired of losing to that freaking quarterback. I'm freaking tired.
Is it about the quarterback or is it about the division?
Well, he's losing the division to that quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't think I would insinuate that he's sick and tired of losing to a bad quarterback.
But if the Titans had Peyton Manning, because I was a Titan fan, when they had Peyton Manning and the Titans didn't. And the Titans had some good teams. And every now and then they beat Manning and win the division like 2002 or 2008. But for the most part, every time the Titans were finishing second, with their noses right in Peyton Manning's butt.
But are you going to say, we got to get past the Colts because, that's the line of demarcation, or are you just kind of sitting back and saying, look, it's going to be really freaking hard to beat
it's Peyton Manning. I mean, it's Peyton Manning. They're not going to be better than Peyton Manning. When the Titans started off in 2008, they started the year off like 10-0, but they were like 7-0, and there was a Monday night game at home, and it was against the Colts, and they honored Steve McNair, Eddie George, and Frank Wycheck at halftime, and it was like the biggest game. But it was the biggest game because it was like, okay, we think the Titans are pretty good, but now we're going to see if they're actually good because here come Peyton Manning and the Colts.
Right.
Ryan Tannehill is not Peyton Manning. And I think if I was a Colts fan, my frustration would be with the fact that how is that team better than us every year?
Well, if I'm a Colts fan, I think I'm focusing less on losing to a average quarterback in the NFL in the Tennessee Titans and focusing on how can we find our next Peyton Manning. That's where the real issue lies, is not on the Titans. It's the Colts have had a revolving door at the quarterback position ever since they got rid of Andrew Luck, or ever since Andrew Luck retired. I think it's more about that rather than it is about hating on Ryan Tannehill.
Well, again, that's probably what Jim Irsay's thinking is, I'm paying you guys all this money and you can't get the quarterback situation figured out because you told me that this last guy that we just traded a first-round pick and a third-round pick for was going to be
the guy, and I absolutely hate him.
And we can't beat Tennessee. We can't beat the Titans. And I'm tired of losing to the Titans. And again, it's easy. It's easy when you're the Dolphins or the Bills, and for 20 years you've lost to the Patriots, and they have Tom Brady. It's easy to say, of course we're going to lose to the Patriots. Yeah. They have Tom Brady. I think it's personal to Irsay because he looks at the Titans and thinks, that team's not better than us. That team shouldn't be better than us. What have I not given you? What have I not given you as the owner in order to have a team that is better than that team? When Andrew Luck retired right away, and we were stuck with Jacoby Brissett, and again, I'm talking as if I'm Jim Irsay. I didn't like it. You didn't like it. We all didn't like it. But the reality is we knew we weren't going to win much with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback. We went out. We got Philip Rivers. You all liked him. Told me don't go get Brady. You said let's get Rivers. And we had a good year. And COVID happened. And if it wasn't for COVID, maybe we beat Tennessee in that second game here. But everybody was out with COVID, so we can't. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine, whatever. Now it's like this Tennessee team wasn't that good last year. And they beat us twice. And they didn't even play well in those two games. Tannehill was freaking awful in both games. And we can't do this. And I think what this is again, if the Titans had Tom Brady at quarterback, I don't think the charge would be Chris Ballard, Frank Reich, if you don't beat Tennessee this year, you're fired. But I think because Tannehill's the quarterback, I mean, do they have a problem with Vrabel? I think they think Vrabel's probably a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
Think they have a problem with Derrick Henry?
Nope.
They probably think Derrick Henry's pretty good.
Well,
Simmons,
they probably
Bayard.
look at it and say, oh, you have Derrick Henry, well, we have Jonathan Taylor.
Sure.
Oh, you have this, well, we have
but
that.
My point is that they look at the Titans the same way that everybody else outside of here looks at the Titans, which is that team will always be ready to play. They are tough and physical. They got a great coach, and they got Derrick Henry. But quarterback, and Irsay's no different. And so Irsay looks at what he's done with the Colts and what he feels like he's given Reich and Ballard and thinks, if you can't get past this team, you guys are fired. That is the sense I get when he sits there and he tells the media and has been telling the media since the owner meetings, this is about Tennessee and about how he wants to, I think at the owner meetings he said, we want to kick their ass because we're tired of them kicking our ass. And as this always works in sports, the first guy that gets the blame, it's the quarterback. The second guy gets the blame,
the coach.
The coach. And so they blamed Wentz, and Irsay clearly kicked his butt out the door after last year. And now there is no more excuse making. So if it doesn't get done with Matt Ryan, I'm sorry, but you're gone and you're gone. And that's the vibe I get. And if I'm the Titans, I look at it like, man, he really thinks losing the division to us is an embarrassment. Even though we have a good team or we whatever the Titans want to tell themselves, that's how Irsay feels. And again, That's how everybody else feels. I could have any NFL radio person on and ask them about Tennessee this upcoming season. And so, what do you think? What do you think about the Titans? And I guarantee you the answer will be, oh, boy, I tell you, Titans are a solid team. You know, with Vrabel, he's a great coach.
And Derrick Henry
run the ball, but the question's going to be,
Brown,
Can Tannehill. And so Jim Irsay is telling Indianapolis and telling the media, and he has put the coach on notice, and he has put the general manager on notice, and the line of demarcation is they better beat the Titans. And because of that, I asked you, do you think Frank Reich cares about the Titans? Do you think Chris Ballard cares about the Titans? Well, they freaking better care about the Titans, because if they don't beat the Titans, they're getting fired. And so that's what I make of Irsay's comments. Let's get your phones on it. 615-737-1025. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us later this hour. 615-737-1025. And Colin Cowherd today, he fell into the trap. We'll get to that next, and then your phone, Stillman and Company, right here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. I love the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and you can sign up with the promo code JGM, and they'll give you a no-sweat NFL bet. That's right, no sweat, up to $1,000 on your first bet. It's pretty crazy, right? So you can bet risk-free up to $1,000. Your first bet on the FanDuel Sportsbook app using the promo code JGM. Right now, the AFC South on the FanDuel Sportsbook, the Colts are minus 125 to win. The Titans are plus 170, Jacksonville 750, and Houston is plus 2,500. So nobody really believes in them at all whatsoever. But that's just how it is. And again, it's your no-sweat bet up to $1,000. If you don't win your first bet, they'll give it back to you in site credit. Everybody loves the no-sweat first bet. Again, it's all season long. Use the promo code JGM to get your opportunity on that. 21 and older in present Tennessee, first online real money wager only. Refund issue is not withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days and restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hey everybody, Willie Donick here to tell you about Trivia Night for Stars. Think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, August 24th to Boom Bars East and test your trivia skills. I'll be your trivia master. We'll have sports questions, some non-sports questions, and some great prizes. It's brought to you by Nerdy Talk, and all proceeds support Stars and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you on August 24th at Boom Bars East.
Get clucky this August at Oak Grove Gaming. Challenge a real-life chicken to a head-to-beak game of Chick-Tac-Toe every Thursday through Sunday in August. For details, visit oakgrovegaming.com.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Are you sick and tired of constant pain in your knees, hips, or back? Especially this time of the year. You need to be moving pain-free, right? Hey, Willie Donick here for the team at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is helping people every day, giving them lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this the last summer you suffer from chronic pain. They've got clinics here and all over America. This is the exciting new, natural way to deal with joint pain. No side effects, no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
The stage is set. The rumors are true. The wait is over. My Chemical Romance. Live. The 2022 tour. This Tuesday night, Bridgestone Arena. My Chemical Romance with special guests Turnstile and Dilly Dally. Tickets are on sale now. Buy tickets at livenation.com. My Chemical Romance in concert.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I think the Colts probably figure out a way to win the division. Jacksonville's in a rebuild. Houston's in a rebuild. I don't think Tennessee will be a number one seed. They lost their best receiver. I don't feel like Tennessee will always be capable with Mike Vrabel, but I don't feel a lot of special. And I think the Colts have a chance to win the division.
Colin Cowherd earlier today, he might as well have just said it. That is, Houston's rebuilding, Jacksonville's rebuilding, so forget about them, which
it's Indianapolis and Tennessee.
I kind of agree with.
Which I think we all agree with.
I think the Colts will win the division. Why? Well, Tennessee, they lost their best receiver, and so they got a great coach, but just say it. Tannehill. That's it. That is, anytime somebody says code for what they don't like about the Titans, it is always Tannehill. It's like nobody ever talks about the fact that they lost their best receiver. Right. But they didn't lose him to free agency. Like the Packers lost their best receiver. The Titans drafted somebody to replace that receiver. Not saying he will, but again, nobody says that with the Packers or the Chiefs. Well, they lost their best receiver, so
people say that with the Chiefs.
Go look at the odds for the AFC West. Not that many people are betting it that way.
Well, they still believe in the Chiefs because of Patrick Mahomes.
It's the quarterback.
I think it's a lot of times couched with, well, what can they do without Tyreek Hill?
I think it's the expectation that they will do whatever they do without Tyreek Hill. And I don't know if they will or they won't. But, again, to me, it's the quarterback. That's it. Cowherd's like, yeah, with Tennessee, they're always going to have a good team with Vrabel, but they're just not. There's just something missing. I just don't know what it is. It's Tannehill. And that's why Jim Irsay, I think, is going to fire the coach and the general manager. Exactly what Cowherd said right there. It's exactly how Jim Irsay feels about his football team. He thinks we should win the division. Because while Tennessee's good, Tennessee's solid, Tennessee's got a good coach, a good foundation, there's nothing great about them. I mean, they got Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. So just keep that in your back pocket. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Fireball Hot Take Friday. Adam is up next in Portland. Thank you for calling. Adam, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think they're liars, man. I don't think they believe that. If you talk to a Colts fan during that run, and it was, 6 or 7 years in a row we couldn't beat them, like they just think, all right, we don't have a quarterback, whatever. That's the only reason Tennessee wins anything. It's like, I mean, they even beat us with Jacoby once. Like I don't think they're worried about us like that, dude. I think that's just like something you got to say. But like the Colts deserve everything they get right now. They lose to Jacksonville to end the season. That wasn't all Carson Wentz. I don't think they're a very good football team. I don't think Matt Ryan's a very good quarterback, so I'm not jumping on that hype train, dude.
And I'll say this, what's crazy about all the talk, thank you for the call, Adam, what's crazy about all the positive Colts talk is it came after the entire country watched them absolutely stink the joint up against the second teamers from the Bills. Everybody saw it.
And I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, it was just a preseason game, because I think mentally we all associate preseason game with backups.
Did you watch the Seahawks last night?
But they weren't playing their backups. That's the thing. They were playing with Matt freaking Ryan.
I mean, I watched the Bears and the Seahawks last night. Those teams suck.
Yeah.
Those were starters.
The Seahawks.
Those teams suck. They both suck. The Bears suck. They suck. I mean, watch it. Oh, they're both horrible. Horrible. But I mean, they played their starters, the Indianapolis Colts did, against Buffalo's backups. Against their backups. And again, I think Adam might be right about how Jim Irsay is just talking about the Titans, about, well, we have to get past Tennessee, and all due respect with Tennessee, it's always tough when we play them, but that he doesn't take them seriously. He's probably right. But the other part of that is, if they don't win again when he doesn't take the Titans seriously, he's definitely going to fire the coach and the general manager, which means that if losing to the Titans means we're getting fired, then we will do whatever it takes to not lose to the Titans. And I think the Titans better know that that's really the directive in Indianapolis is beat the Titans or else. And if I'm the Titans, I'm going to have to make them live with the what else.
Do you think that's the mentality with the Titans? Beat the Colts or else? I know they've beaten the Colts over the past couple of years, but do you think they go into each season saying, we have to beat the Colts?
Well,
I know you asked Mike Vrabel that question.
I think that the Colts are, they got to get ready for the Colts because they play them twice a year, and then they also have to get ready for Jacksonville twice a year because they play them twice a year, and they have to get ready for the Texans twice a year. So
I know what Mike Vrabel said.
Get ready for that.
But is that what they mean?
By the way, that was what Vrabel said when I asked him that specific question. Was that exactly what I just said? Was what Vrabel said? No, I don't think the Titans operate like that. And here's why. I think the Titans really do. I think the Titans are very much a process organization. That is, their focus is on the next game, and I don't know what it is about Vrabel during the week when they're getting ready to play a bad team and why they can't ever really consistently break through against the bad teams. But I don't think the Titans get carried away. I think it's such a veteran group, and he's such an experienced coach as a player that it's like, the Titans don't get carried away about worrying about anybody else except for the next game that week. And I think they very much take it as a week-by-week year. And I think a lot of that probably stems from the ownership, where the ownership doesn't – this is just my impression of it, and I know everybody involved, so I guess I feel comfortable enough to speak on it. I mean, I don't think Amy calls down on Monday after a bad loss and is ripping everybody's rear end.
And I think that's the difference between an owner like Irsay and an owner like Amy Adams-Strunk.
Yeah.
She's
Irsay
so
gets very
hands-off.
involved. And that is one of the problems with the very involved owners. Now, sometimes the owner is too hands-off, but absolutely, I think that plays a role in this. I also think for the Titans, when the window opened for the Titans, the Texans were still good. So they had to worry about the Texans and the Colts. And so it's not like in Vrabel's tenure, Jacksonville, when he took over, they were the reigning division champs.
Mm-hmm.
Then Houston won 2. Then the Titans have won 2. So the Colts are not a team that Vrabel has looked up and seen, his face in their ass at any point.
Right.
Whereas with Irsay, for years, it's like the flowers for Algernon, where for years the Titans couldn't get a quarterback and they always beat the Titans. And so now to be behind the Titans is almost like it feels to him disrespectful because I'm so used to beating the Titans.
Yeah.
Weston's up next on the Colts. Thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Weston.
Yeah, so I was just listening to Jim Irsay's conversation, and one person that I immediately think about when he's saying these things is I immediately think of us here in Nashville with David Poyle. Like, David Poyle has made some bonehead moves that hasn't worked out, and he's trying to hurry up and correct those before all the fans are irate and everybody in the fan base is. And so I think Jim trying to do what he needs to do and moving on after this season, if everything doesn't work out, is a smart move on his part and needs to be done.
So do you mean that, like, you wish that Irsay was running the Predators and would fire Poyle if they don't get better? I guess he dropped off there. Is that what he's referring to? Or is he saying that Jim Irsay's mindset is the same as David Poyle's mindset?
I think it's the mindset of, I know that I'm not getting any younger.
Oh,
and I want to hurry up and win a championship and kind of do whatever it takes, and the frustration that they're not getting past this certain point.
Jim Irsay owns the team. So Jim Irsay, if they don't win, is going to fire the coach and the general manager and then go hire another one. David Poyle is sitting there being like, guys, I know I hired this coach to come in here and turn things around. And I know he hasn't won jack since we hired him. And I know he's never won anything as the coach. But you guys got to trust me. I love this coach. He's a great coach. I just gave him a multi-year extension because I know he's a great coach. Irsay is like, if you don't beat the Titans, pack your crap. Those are two total polar opposites.
Do we think he's saying that?
Yes.
I lean to agree.
Yes.
Sometimes, but
I mean, if he had a meeting in which every coach and every scout and every football personnel person, he led a meeting after the second Titans loss last year and ripped their rear ends for an hour. You think he's not going to fire them if they don't win to beat the Titans this year?
They probably will.
It's absolutely he's going to fire.
And to that point about, I know I'm not getting any younger and I want to win a championship before I'm no longer here. that goes through the Titans. And then each year as
if
it
we
passes,
can't beat that quarterback,
each
how
year
are we going to
as
beat all
it
the other
passes,
teams?
it gets more and more urgent of we have to beat them because we can't get to the next step. We can't make the playoffs if we don't.
I think there's probably a lot of Jim Irsay that laments the fact that when he had a championship caliber team every year, they only won one Super Bowl. But I think he probably reasons with himself that, well, they had Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it just happens to be that our era overlapped with Tom Brady, and we lost to Tom Brady how many times in the AFC Championship game that we would have won if they didn't have Tom Brady. This ain't Tom Brady.
But it's also not getting any easier within the AFC.
What do you mean?
I understand that the AFC South winning the division, Jim Irsay probably looks at it as easier given the quarterback situation. Sure. But the AFC, it's not like since there's no Tom Brady, there's no one.
Well, he's not going to fire these guys if they don't win the AFC. If they get into the division round of the playoffs and lose to Kansas City, he's not going to fire them. If they don't win the division,
but you can't win a Super Bowl if you don't beat a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Herbert or whoever in the AFC
even
Championship.
Even though Irsay's kind of a kook, I think he's at least somewhat realistic. He's not going to fire those guys if that happens. If they don't beat the Titans this year, he's firing those guys. I'm convinced of it. That if they don't beat the Titans this year and they lose and the Titans win the division, Irsay is firing Reichenbauer. Corey Curtis, we'll get his thoughts on it next. 615-737-1025 here on the program. We'll ask Corey if he hears those Jim Irsay comments and he thinks that the directive has been given. Win or else. Hey, we are your racing station, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in this Sunday at 1 o'clock for the Go Bowling at the Glen. Also join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chasing Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for race weekend. NASCAR on 102.5, 106.3 The Game is presented by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
Hey, Preds fans.
Sliding across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The back-hander scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
A new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store is now open in Franklin at Watson Glen. Get ready to score up to 70% off thousands of items from your favorite athletic brands. Check out can't-miss deals for the entire family, including tees, tanks, shorts, leggings, footwear, golf apparel, and more. Plus, new styles arrive weekly, so there's always more from the best brands. Check out your new Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store for the grand opening celebration, August 19th to the 21st in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Are you ready for this?
You've never seen the PBR like this. Buckle up for the ultimate weekend in Western sports as the PBR Team Series invades Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, August 19th through the 21st. 8 teams, 3 days, 1 champion. Don't miss your chance to watch history as it's made. Get your tickets now at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. PBR Team Series. Bull riding will never be the same.
When you need electronics or appliances, find great deals in-store or online at Electronic Express. Save big on favorite brands like Samsung, GE, Nintendo, iRobot, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. we make it happen.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome in Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman & Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Matthias Ekholm. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You know, we know going into it, it's about Tennessee. It's about winning the division. It's about going against those guys who have been very tough, and they do a great job there and getting their players ready to play football in a tough physical way. So it's always tough going against those guys, but we know that's what we have to do. That's what we have to overcome if we want to get where we want to get.
There you go. And I that was Jim Irsay. I just put in on Google, Reich, Irsay, Tennessee. Some of these headlines are outstanding. Report, Colts Frank Reich apologized to Jim Irsay for Carson Wentz trade. Jim Irsay, this is from April 1st of this year. Jim Irsay says the Tennessee Titans have his Indianapolis Colts, quote, on a leash. That is pretty obvious to me that he is tired of losing to the Titans. So with that, Corey Curtis joins us, News 2, here on the program. So we started with this. Corey, I'm convinced that Jim Irsay is laying down the law. If the Colts do not beat the Titans and win the division this year, Frank Reich and Chris Ballard are fired. Do you think that that's fair? And if you owned the Colts, would you feel the same way?
I don't know if I could ever make it that simple. But listen, this team has not lived up to the hype that we've heard about their roster and about their coaching staff for the last 4 years, right? I mean, they haven't won the division since 2014, haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014, and every year they're picked to do it. Now, at the same time, and this is a Chris Ballard thing, and probably Frank Reich deserves some blame, but certainly Jim Irsay is in on this decision as well. How many quarterbacks are they on? Is this 4 in 4 years? Is that the number we're at?
I believe it's 5 and 5.
5 and 5.
Luck, Brissett, Rivers, Wentz, Ryan.
Okay.
5.
Okay. So any other organization in the NFL is deemed dysfunctional at that point,
One
right?
for the thumb.
I mean, everybody would say this organization's out of control. They're dysfunctional. Sure. They can't get the quarterback situation right. But for the Colts, every time they bring in a quarterback, even when it's Jacoby Brissett, I heard some guy talk today about how good Jacoby Brissett was going to do replacing Deshaun Watson. We will make excuses for anybody in this league. Look, Jacoby Brissett's not good. He's proven it over and over again. You know what? If he was good, he'd still be starting somewhere. He's only starting because the other guy is a serial predator and has been suspended, okay? He was only starting in Indianapolis because Andrew Luck was hurt. Okay, when you're only starting for a reason, it's not because you're good. You're not good, all right? So he's not good. Phillip Rivers was there because he was at the end of the line. And now Matt Ryan is there. And you know why Matt Ryan is there? Because he's at the end of the line. Matt Ryan was still performing at an MVP caliber. Do you think the Atlanta Falcons would have traded him and moved on? No, they would not have. But because it's the Colts, for some reason we still have this image that Peyton Manning is there and everything is sunshine and rainbows. They continue to underachieve and be incredibly mediocre.
Corey, what did you make of Indy playing all of their first stringers except for Jonathan Taylor against the Bills, second stringers, and looking terrible on Saturday? I couldn't believe all the bravado the Colts had this week after what happened on Saturday with their first team.
You know, however people want to handle the preseason is fine. You know, you can justify either way, and we can't get too tied up into preseason results. I always bring up that 0-16 Lions team that went 4-0 in the preseason. So I will say this. You got a new quarterback, and if he wants to play and he wants to work with the guys, I think that's great because, you need time and you need to work together. And they've got some other holes to fill. We still like to pretend that they have a receiving core, which they don't. And we still like to pretend that they have a left tackle, which they don't.
Corey, Logan Woodside has seen a decrease in his reps in practice. Malik Willis is operating in the backup quarterback role. Vrabel says, and I asked him, and Vrabel said it's because they want to get Malik ready and evaluate Malik as opposed to any blemish on Logan's resume. Tomorrow, I would assume they'll both play against the Buccaneers. I assume that Logan will not start. Malik will. Do you think that Logan Woodside is in jeopardy of losing his spot on this roster?
Do I think it's a possibility? Yes. Do I think we're there? Not necessarily. But look, there are a number of reasons Malik Willis started that last game and that I would expect him to start this one. I think we won't see all of the starters play, but I think we're going to see a heck of a lot more of them than we saw last week. And they need to see him operating with those guys. And they need to see what he's got because you have to think that the preference would be to carry 2 and not 3. We've all assumed it would be 3, right? You and I have talked about that over and over again, that 3, because they trust Logan. Well, if they have a level of trust with Malik that they feel good, they're not going to hesitate to save themselves a roster spot. And so it's going to be interesting to see, if he can build that kind of trust in them. He's got to grow. He's got to read and he's got to let it rip. He's got to find an open guy and he's got to get him the football. He's got 15 years of quarterbacking, to kind of relearn. And that's not to say that he can't do it. I don't think he has to learn it all in a day, but he has to show progress. And if he continues to show progress, then Logan could certainly be in trouble.
See, I almost think that Logan and Malik's statuses are independent of one another. Corey Curtis, News 2, is with us on the program. And what I mean by that is I believe that there will be a backup quarterback. I don't know if it will be Logan or not. I don't know if it'll be if Sean Mannion loses the job to Kellen Mond in Minnesota, if Blaine Gabbert loses the backup job to Kyle Trask with Tampa Bay, if I'm just going over the teams that run a similar offense where there's a quarterback battle. If John Wolford loses the battle to Bryce Perkins, would he come in here and be the backup as opposed to Logan? Corey, I saw Thursday. I saw the 2 practices against Tampa Bay. I have a pretty good feeling of what we're going to see tomorrow. I cannot see the Titans having Malik Willis be an ankle roll away from having to go in there and beat the Raiders or the Bengals or the Cowboys or the Packers this season.
Yeah, I look at it a little differently than you, and that I think that Malik can make that decision for them. Is he close to making it? I don't know. It depends on what they think close is, and it depends on what they think growth is. These guys can come a long way in a short period of time, and then you have to ask yourself, how many games are you going to win with Logan Woodside anyway?
Well, I don't think you're going to win any games with any of those guys, including Malik.
Yeah. Well, are you going to win any games with Sean Mannion?
No. I don't think they're going to win a single, I should say a single game. They'll probably win some games, against Houston or whatever with those guys. But I think the Titans' chances to win a game with, let's just say, John Wolford. I think their chances to win a game with John Wolford are better than their chances to win a game with Logan Woodside. But I still don't think their chances of winning anything of substance I think it's 0 with any of those guys, including Malik. Tannehill is their only chance to win anything, and that is the case for almost every team in the NFL.
Yeah, that's the reason that starters get $30 million a year, because of this conversation, because they're the only guys you trust to go out and win you games and not lose you games. We've watched Big Game Blaine, okay? We've seen what that looks like, and this guy was the 10th pick or the 11th pick of the draft. So we've seen guys who are big-time talents who just can't do it. It sickens you why Deshaun Watson gets $240 million guaranteed, but this is why. This is why Jim Irsay says, let's not forget he's under 26 years old and he's a heck of an NFL quarterback, because they don't grow on trees. They just don't.
Corey Curtis, News 2, is our guest. Fireball Hot Take Friday. What's our hot take this week, Corey?
Oh, I'm back on train. I'm ready to put the Bears in the Super Bowl after last night's rout of the Seattle Seahawks. Just an unbelievable performance from the monsters of the Midway. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to watch them win games in the preseason just so I can go back to reality in the regular season.
Let me say this. The Bears suck. That offensive
They
line
do.
for Justin Fields, oh,
well,
my
it's
God.
terrible. But you know what I think is also true? The Seahawks really suck.
Oh,
okay?
they suck.
They stink. Those two teams will probably both be picking in the top 5 of the NFL draft. And again, I always talk about, don't get into results of preseason games. Do not. You look for performances. You look to see if guys can play here and there. You look for things that, you can lean toward. Do not look at the score, because that game's a perfect indicator. The Bears are going to stink.
Corey Curtis, News 2, as always, joining us on a Friday. Corey, we will talk to you next week and see you for the Arizona game.
Yeah, hey, everybody, check out Kayla on the sideline tomorrow night. Jared's been nice enough not to bring it up. I've got COVID, so I've been down all week.
Well, it's not my business to share. In fact, if I were a doctor, that would be a HIPAA violation.
Yeah,
Dak Prescott.
Well, you're not. Well, you know what? I got nothing to hide. I haven't been at work all week. All right.
Is this your first COVID experience?
This is mine and my wife's first, and it's we have plowed through, and we always wondered, hey, maybe we had it. Well, we found out.
Yeah.
It's
I know that feeling. Corey Curtis, News 2, as always. Appreciate you, Corey. Get better.
All right, thanks. By the way, I feel good. I'm good.
There you go. Corey Curtis joining us on the program. I would say this. I had COVID before I was vaccinated, and I felt like I woke up in the middle of the night. I was like, oh, great, I got it.
Yeah.
And then I got COVID after I'd been vaccinated, and I thought I had allergies. And then I tested positive. So make of that what you will. I will say this about the preseason. I don't care about who wins a preseason game. I don't care about that. I do care about how players play in the preseason, how the real players, how they play in the preseason. 615-737-1025. Mike Vrabel says they're giving more reps to Malik Willis than Logan Woodside. There's 2 reasons why. Which one do we believe? We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Be sure to join us tonight. That's right, for the Game Blitz, as Big Joe Dubin and Elijah Campbell. I don't know why I screwed up on that. I've known Elijah for like 10 years. Big Joe Dubin and Elijah Campbell tonight will be on the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz from 6 until midnight. We'll preview the big games and then take you right through the night of high school football around the Mid-State. It's the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Gearing up for a hot and humid weekend with highs in the upper 80s near 90 both Saturday and Sunday. Look for a few thunderstorms Saturday. Better chance of thunderstorms with heavy rain possible Sunday. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
People who call QC Kinetics are pretty much fed up with joint pain.
It's to the point where it's affecting their quality of life. Maybe they can't pick up their grandchildren anymore, or golf, or play tennis, or walk with their friends.
Dr. Justin Garzone, Medical Director at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, and no surgery.
The great thing about our therapies, there isn't any downtime. There's no side effects, so patients can get our treatment and continue on with their day-to-day life.
And Dr. Garzone speaks from experience. He had excruciating back pain and got relief at a QC Kinetics clinic.
Over a very short period of time, the pain went away completely, and I've had absolutely no symptoms or pain since my treatment.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Rob tried to manage his constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating day after day. After realizing it was irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, he found another way and finally said yes to adding Linzess.
Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by AbbVie and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Chase McCabe.
The best way to figure that out is to watch Twitter.
Willie Donick.
Trying to move down the field for the winning field goal.
And Derek Mason.
I'm putting in my hours and I'm out of here.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Mike, why has the rep count decreased for Logan?
Because, I just think that we have to continue to develop Malik in this system. And we've had conversations with Logan about, his opportunity to compete, but I also feel like we have to try to see how quickly we can bring Malik along, and I think that would be the reason why.
There you go, Vrabel decreasing the rep count in order to get Malik ready. Not saying he's right, not saying he's wrong, but I'll say this: it's one of two reasons. One, either they are comfortable with Logan and Logan is the backup and on they go. Or two, they are comfortable with their decision that they will move on from Logan and somebody else will be the backup quarterback. Who will be the backup quarterback? I don't know. But it'll be somebody. So, don't know which one it is. We'll see how they play him tomorrow night. I would expect that we'll see Malik start, and I would not be surprised if Malik plays the whole game. But they have decreased Logan Woodside's rep count. Do you have a thought, or do you want to go to to the phones on Jim Irsay's comments about the Titans?
To the phones.
Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com on a Fireball Hot Take Friday.
The one and only Indy Ben.
I did? Okay, so I usually don't really even look at the text line, much less reply to people in the text line. Indy Ben was tweeting in or texting in, and I just texted back and said, you should listen at 4 o'clock when we talk a little Colts, Indy Ben. What does Indy Ben have to say?
Indy Ben is always there whenever we talk about the Colts.
That is true.
He says Reich is understandably on the hot seat this season if they don't live up to expectations. I'm much more of a believer in Ballard than Reich, as Frank has had his share of struggles with preparing the team on a consistent basis, while Ballard has built up arguably a better roster over Tennessee. In terms of the fan base, I think most Colts fans are only concerned.
Stop.
Okay.
I'm saying right there.
Okay.
What does better roster mean?
Does that mean, starting 22? Does that mean roster from top to bottom, like Indianapolis has more depth? I don't know.
Ian, do you have any idea what better roster means?
As far as who has the better roster?
Uh-huh.
I mean, just overall players, I guess, talent. I don't know.
You can't have a better roster without a quarterback. Everybody wants to tell every national media guy, whenever the Colts are brought up, they'll say, oh, Chris Ballard and Frank Reich are just great. And they are literally on their fifth quarterback in 5 years. How can you be a great general manager if over a 6-year period you can't find a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, what do you mean you can't have a better roster without having a quarterback?
If you don't have a quarterback, your roster is not as good.
Well, I don't think either team has a certified quarterback.
The Titans have a legitimate starting quarterback.
So do the Colts.
No.
I mean, they're both average quarterbacks in this league.
No. The Colts do not have a quarterback that they know they can win with. There is no proof of concept that the Indianapolis Colts can win with this quarterback. There is proof of concept that the Tennessee Titans can win the division with this quarterback. There is, again, I mean, you know how I feel. Everybody knows how I feel about Tannehill. But there is legitimate proof of concept that the Tennessee Titans can win the division and compete in the AFC with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. Even when Ryan Tannehill doesn't play well. There is no proof of concept that Wright can take a bad quarterback and make him good. And there is no proof of concept that Chris Ballard has found his quarterback. Plus, does anybody look at Matt Ryan as the long-term future of the Indianapolis Colts? He's 30-freaking-7.
No.
So I'm supposed to be told by everybody about how Ballard is this great drafter. And yet in 5 years, 6 years, he has not found a starting quarterback. In fact, as great as Quentin Nelson is, and we all think this Quentin Nelson, he's a great guard, right? You know, he went with the 6th pick. You know who went with the 7th pick?
No.
Josh Allen.
Okay.
So, and I'm not saying they should have taken Josh Allen because they had Andrew Luck, but if they had taken Josh Allen, I bet they'd have a better roster than they have now. Chris Ballard has done a terrible job compared to the credit that he gets in Indianapolis. We can sit there and say, well, in his first draft, he drafted Quentin Nelson in the first round and Shaquille Leonard, formerly Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard in the second round. And those were great picks. Well, guess what? In John Robinson's first draft, he drafted Jack Conklin, an All-Pro in the first round, Derrick Henry, an All-Pro in the second round, and Kevin Byard, an All-Pro in the third round. And nobody ever gives John Robinson that kind of credit. And I'm not here capping for John Robinson, but nobody talks about Brandon Beane in Buffalo, who I think is the best general manager in the NFL. Nobody talks about Brandon Beane or John Robinson the way they talk about Chris Ballard. And Chris Ballard doesn't win anything. And Chris Ballard can't find a quarterback. He can't find one. So where San Francisco decided they had a good team. They had a middle-of-the-pack, playoff-ish team. And they decided, you know what, let's trade everything up to go get Trey Lance. And now we'll see if Trey Lance is going to be a franchise quarterback. But they went all in on it. Reich and Ballard, they go to the discount store, use a first-round pick on Carson Wentz, and then are shocked when it doesn't work, even though he got benched for Jalen freaking Hurts in Philadelphia. And so I hear this stuff all the time about, well, if Indy could find a quarterback, then Reich and Ballard, they'd win a lot of games. It's their freaking jobs to find quarterbacks, and they can't do it. So stop saying that. Stop saying stuff like this guy finds great rosters because he goes out there and he fills every position except quarterback. And apparently every position except quarterback, except pass rusher, and except wide receiver. Other than that, he's great.
Really important positions there.
Yeah, no, but hey, guard.
But they've got a guard.
Guard and linebacker, they're good. I mean, people think about Chris Ballard. He's always got this cap space. He never spends it. And then they look at the draft picks, and do we ever talk about Rock Yassin? Kwity Paye. Great roster. How many sacks Kwity Paye have last year? I don't know. I don't care. He didn't do anything last year. And so then they had to go trade for Yannick Ngakoue. And that's, again, a great roster they have here. Yeah, it was so good that their first string couldn't beat the second string of the Bills. It was fabulous. Just fabulous.
I feel like whenever the Colts don't use all of their cap space,
Which
it's
is
shown
every year.
as like a good thing. Like, wow, good for Chris Ballard for getting a bargain and having some money left over. Since when has that been a good thing? Since when is that something that you deserve a pat on the back for, is not using up the cap space? To me, if you're not making the playoffs or winning the division consistently, don't you think you should look at your cap and say, hey, maybe we should actually dip into the funds a little bit and find a roster, to Indy Ben's point, that can actually win the division or make the playoffs?
So a couple years ago, they decided to splurge. They traded a first-round pick to San Francisco, and in return, they got DeForest Buckner, and then they gave DeForest Buckner a huge contract. Well, that's great, but they paid twice. They paid with a pick and the contract. That's bad management. But nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. If you're doing
Titans
that,
did with Julio Jones.
if you're doing that, you better get on the defensive line. You better get Aaron Donald. Like, you better get that player if you're going to pay twice. That's what the Raiders did with Devontae Adams, paying twice. Miami did it, and again, did Miami? I think they spent one first-round pick, maybe
on Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but it was a whole deal. Chad Withrow wrote a piece just totally, and if you were listening last week, Chad Withrow spent an entire 30-minute block complaining about Logan Woodside. He has written a piece at Outkick.com in which he just chucks Logan as far under the bus as humanly possible. We will discuss that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
We're Saia LTL Freight. For nearly a century, our team has been committed to driving business forward. From Lady Liberty to the Golden Gate, Superstore to Corner Store. We go that extra mile, expanding our team to better serve you. So trust that when you partner with Saia, we take every delivery personally. Visit Saia.com for all your shipping needs. That's SAIA.com.
Genesis Diamond's most extreme value on diamonds is coming to an end. You have until Sunday at 5 p.m. to get the price of a lifetime on a certified GIA diamond ring.
Response has been incredible. People have driven for hours to buy like a dealer buys. All GIA certified diamond rings are on sale. A full 20% discount off Genesis' amazing everyday value price.
We're talking values you never thought possible. From a half carat to 20 carat diamonds, all hand-picked for maximum brilliance and all graded by the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
Don't be surprised to see jewelry store owners and diamond dealers shopping alongside you.
Rounds, ovals, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emerald cuts. Genesis has the largest GIA diamond selection you've ever seen.
And now through Sunday, you can take advantage of this rare buying opportunity. Limit one per customer, please.
Get the Genesis no middleman direct importer price minus an extra 20% on all GIA diamond engagement rings. Now through Sunday only at Genesis Diamonds.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
See store for details.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne,
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman and Company, Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game. And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Chad Withrow joins us, presented by Apple Collision Centers, online at applecollisioncenters.com. We will get to Chad in a second, but first we got to talk about Chad's article at Outkick.com, in which Chad wrote the best and worst backup quarterbacks of the NFL. And he writes in there that I was watching, this is a quote, I was watching the Titans-Ravens preseason game last Thursday night and was struck by something. Logan Woodside is a backup NFL quarterback, and he is terrible. Set aside his 2 awful interceptions and that time he couldn't get the ball through the same zip code as a wide-open Treylon Burks in the Ravens game, the guy doesn't appear physically capable of making plays in the NFL. He is 6'1", 213 pounds of as Chad writes. Let me say this. I don't think Logan Woodside's 6'1".
He's probably on the roster as 6'1".
With skates on.
Yeah, that's his skate height.
With skates on, he might be
5'10" on a good day.
He writes, contrast the Titans backup with the Ravens' Tyler Huntley or Titans' current third stringer Malik Willis. Huntley was an efficient 16 for 18 through the air with 1 touchdown and no interceptions while also adding a 14-yard run. So he's talking about Huntley. And I thought Huntley was fine, but nothing special. Anywho, he writes down the best backups in the NFL and the worst backups. The best backups, number 1, Nick Foles of the Colts, who did not look good, by the way, at all against the Buffalo Bills on Saturday. Teddy Bridgewater, Miami. Kenny Pickett of the Steelers. Tyler Huntley of the Ravens. And Gardner Minshew of the Eagles. We'll discuss the Huntley thing because Huntley started a bunch of games last year from Lamar Jackson. And guess what Huntley didn't manage to do last year?
Win any games?
He didn't win a single game.
Yep.
Worst backups. Number 1, Logan Woodside. Chad writes, the only chance the Titans have at winning a game if Ryan Tannehill is out is if they started Derrick Henry at quarterback and ran the veer for the entire game. That says more about Logan Woodside than Derrick Henry's quarterback skills. The former Toledo Rocket is a whopping 1 for 3 for 7 yards in his career, and the only surprising thing about that stat is that he completed 1 pass. He has kept his job until now on the backs of a strong understanding of the offense and his work ethic. These are great traits for an offensive analyst. Hopefully the Titans hire him on staff after Malik Willis wins the backup job. Chad Withrow joins us now, presented by Apple Collision Centers online at applecollisioncenters.com. Chad, you really don't like Logan Woodside. We went over this last week. The worst backup in the NFL, and yet answer this for me. Do you think Mike Vrabel will keep him as the backup this season?
No, I don't. I really think that at some point they're going to wise up and see that, even Malik Willis with all of his warts right now and all the development that needs to be done is a better option because Logan Woodside isn't capable of making the type of play that Malik Willis made in that game on the 7-yard touchdown run. He's just not. And it's not personal with Logan Woodside. Logan Woodside is simply an example of what's wrong with a lot of backup quarterback situations in the NFL. I think coaches get overly comfortable with a guy they know, a guy they like, a guy that knows the offense, and they don't really look at, okay, what's best for my team if my starting quarterback goes down for a month and someone has to start 4 games. Logan Woodside's only chance of winning an NFL game is if the Titans were ahead by 3 or 4 scores in the second half and he could hand the ball off to Derrick Henry the entire time. Because, let's face it, if he comes into a game and it's tied or the Titans are ahead 1 score or they're down 1 score, there is no chance the Titans win that game with Logan Woodside at quarterback if they are playing a team that's competent at all. And again, and I wrote about it, and you just read it, Jared, but if he's so good at the playbook and he's got such a great work ethic, bring the guy on as an offensive analyst. Jeremy Pruitt was a defensive analyst a year ago for the New York Giants. I bet Logan Woodside would do a much better job than Jeremy Pruitt did as an offensive analyst with the Titans.
Here's my problem with that, though, Chad. I don't think that Malik Willis can do really anything right now other than run the football and throw it 75 yards. Well, that's one more
thing than Logan Woodside can do. Running the football is one more thing than Logan Woodside. He can't throw. He can't run. He can receive a snap and know what the play is. I mean, I'm sorry, but we are really cutting the coaches a lot of slack here if we're saying that is why you keep a guy around ultimately, because that's on the coaches. They drafted a guy, Malik Willis, who is different than their starting quarterback. If you're going to do that, you need to devise an offense that Malik Willis can run when he comes in the game. it's a different package. You slightly tweak some things, or you drafted Malik Willis to eventually run this offense and be the backup for Ryan Tannehill. I mentioned in the column, but I think Tyler Huntley is the perfect example of that is a good quarterback for Lamar Jackson's system. That is a system designed where it is very quarterback run friendly. It's perfect for Tyler Huntley to step right in and not change the offense at all if you're the Ravens. The Titans are different in that they'll need to tweak the offense a bit if Malik Willis checks in the game. But, I mean, again, yes, Malik Willis, that's all he can do is run. Well, that's one more thing than Logan Woodside brings to the table.
I would agree with you that Tyler Huntley is like, it's almost like kind of a discount store version of Lamar Jackson, which is good. Lamar goes down, you bring in a guy who has a similar skill set to Lamar. Except that last year when they brought him in there, they didn't win. And that's my thought with all of these backup quarterbacks, because a lot of this offensive system the Titans run, a lot of these backups are battling for that job. Bryce Perkins is battling with John Wolford, who's been the backup with the Rams. If Perkins wins the job, I could see Wolford being released, and he would be an upgrade to Logan Woodside. Sean Mannion is battling with Kellen Mond for the backup job. Blaine Gabbert is battling in Tampa Bay with Kyle Trask for the backup job. If they decide to go with Brady and Trask, certainly I would bring Gabbert in here. Except that we saw Gabbert against Indianapolis with the season on the line, and he simply isn't good enough. Huntley isn't good enough. All of the backup quarterbacks in the NFL, for the most part, Cooper Rush in Dallas isn't good enough. And so is it really worth wasting our time to for the Titans to go get somebody better at that position when they're still probably going to lose if that guy's in the game instead of Tannehill?
So the Titans wasted time in drafting Malik Willis in the third round?
Well, I think that they're
why
wanting Malik to one day be able to be the starting quarterback of this team.
Well, you know how you become the starting quarterback one day? You start as the backup, and then you become the starter. You don't draft someone to go be on the practice squad in hopes that one day you give them better experience and you bring them in as the starter. I don't think first off, Logan Woodside, we all agree, is never going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And the Titans acknowledge that too, right? Well, they draft Malik Willis because they believe that he can be a starter for the Titans one day in the NFL. If you believe that, then he's good enough to be your backup quarterback. I mean, is it the top issue for the Titans or for some of these other teams? Probably not. But I think we go too far to let coaches and GMs off the hook for having really terrible backup quarterback situations. We talked about this today. We don't understand how Trevor Siemian is the backup to Justin Fields in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Completely different quarterbacks, right? So you're going to have to put in a completely different offense for Trevor Siemian. And Trevor Siemian at best is a middle-of-the-line backup quarterback in the NFL, at best, right? Why is P.J. Walker not the backup quarterback to Justin Fields? He's currently the third stringer for the Panthers. Why not do something that makes sense? And do you know how many P.J. Walkers come out of college football every year? I just think that we're being overly lazy in both quarterback analysis. By we, I mean the NFL. In quarterback analysis and quarterback development, and coaches just sort of fall back on this. You know, it's like the catcher becomes the best manager, right? The idea of that. Sure. Well, the backup quarterback just needs to be this lame extension of the offensive coordinator and not have any real ability. That's not true with every NFL team, but I think it's true with the Titans. I think it's true with other teams. And one team is too many to have that sort of mindset.
I think one of the biggest problems with this, Chad Withrow's our guest, one of the biggest problems, and this is not why Logan Woodside is the backup of the Titans. I agree with you. But I think one of the problems is the money for starting quarterbacks for the last 10 years and really now is so high that how many guys that are failed starters or starters out of their prime, how many of those guys want to go be a backup? If Neil O'Donnell, after all his years with the Steelers and the Jets, if he were playing in today's game, he probably would have $150 million in the bank. Would he want to go back up Steve McNair? And that's where I think we're losing a lot of the quote-unquote quality backups, and that's why the league is stuck with a bunch of Case Keenums and Matt Barkleys.
Yeah, Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, there are guys that kind of go against that have made some money that want to stick around and be a backup in the league. But I think this goes back to what I was just talking about. If that's the case, and you got guys who were once starters in the league and they made a ton of money and they're not motivated to go be a backup quarterback for someone, I also think of like a Mark Brunell, who made a lot and then backed up guys for many years and ended up playing for a number of teams. But if you can't find that guy, then go find me something better than John Wolford and Logan Woodside and Sean Mannion and these guys. And look, maybe I'm completely wrong, which is a possibility here, and there's just no good quarterbacks out there. But, Jared, you and Caroline, just like me, watch a ton of college football. And these NFL offenses are starting to mimic a lot of college football offenses. And we see guys highly productive at the college level that are good college quarterbacks that, for whatever reason, are not given a shot to be NFL backup quarterbacks. But yet I feel like we're cycling through the same types of quarterbacks over and over again in these backup spots. And there are guys out there who could do the job better.
Chad Withrow is with us. Outkick 360. Malik Willis will make his second appearance tomorrow against Tampa Bay. What's he want to see there? And my biggest beef right now with the Titans after the joint practices with Tampa Bay, I want to get his thoughts on that as well. Stillman and Company, Chad Withrow with us on a Fireball Hot Take Friday, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and, of course, streaming on the Game Nashville app.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Cordell & Cordell, we focus on representing men in domestic relations cases.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
We recognize that our clients are going through perhaps the toughest time they will ever go through. We understand that everything that's important to them is on the table. Their assets, the role in their children's lives. That's an immense responsibility that our clients entrust us with, and we take that very seriously. We've been trained to do that. We've helped thousands of clients before. And it's our hope that you'll choose to entrust us with what's most important to you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here to tell you Twin Peaks will hook you up for your fantasy football draft party, which includes a draft board, player stickers, free Wi-Fi, a $50 bonus for the commish, and a $5 bonus card for each drafter. And when you're not on the clock, relax with one of Twin Peaks' refreshing 29-degree beers, or order for the whole team with the Peak Sampler full of fan favorites, or indulge in shareables like the double-stack nachos, loaded fries, and multiple flavors of boneless wings. Call Twin Peaks in Cool Springs today to book your fantasy football draft party at 615-221-0869.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Start the second half of the baseball season the right way and turn K's into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up with the promo code JGM, place your first bet, and FanDuel will give you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. Right now, I got to love the Mets to choke down the second half of the season. The Braves are going to get them. That's my gut. That's how I feel. Not bummer here. FanDuel's got great promotions every day. It's a safe and secure app, and you get paid fast. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 1-800-889-9789.
In today's economy, employers and employees should be working together to create safe, good-paying jobs with no unnecessary government overreach. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Tennesseans, this voting season, vote no on Amendment 1. Visit TennesseeWorkersAlliance.org, paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Have you made a decision on who's starting at quarterback on Saturday night?
No. I'm going to try to digest this practice and make that decision.
Chance that maybe you want to look at Malik again and see how.
Sure, of course, absolutely. We went through with a plan last week, and went through a plan to say, hey, we're going to put you back out there in the second half. Like to see you execute some things. He didn't, and so we deferred to Logan. So we'll continue to give everybody here that's earned opportunities, and he absolutely has. And just want to digest this practice and figure out a plan. For the game.
There you go. That was Vrabel yesterday talking about Malik Willis. I think he will start tomorrow. Chad Withrow is with us, Outkick 360. 2 thoughts on tomorrow's Buccaneers game. 1, what are you looking for from Malik Willis? And 2, and I'm going to hold you to this, Chad, if Logan Woodside plays well, will you give Logan Woodside credit if he gets in the game and if he plays well?
No, I will not. Look, all I can go by is what happens in the regular season, and he has 3 passes. So some might say, oh, you're being overly harsh on a guy who hasn't really had a chance to show anything. I'd say that, 3 passes probably is the cap for what we need to see from Logan Woodside ever in an actual NFL game. What I want to see from Malik Willis is what got Mike Vrabel so angry at him in the last game, and that is just him sticking with it, hanging in the pocket a little bit longer, and delivering the football one way or the other, right? Trusting progressions a little bit more, trusting his eyes a little bit more, showing just the next step in the evolution of being comfortable in the pocket and not being so quick to bail out. I really think that we're going to see him make another athletic play or two. He's probably going to escape pressure, or he's going to take off running quickly, and he's going to make a big play with his legs. But what I want to see more than anything is just Malik Willis hanging in, throwing the ball a little bit more. And I'm kind of joking. Look, if Logan Woodside comes out and just completely lights it up in the preseason game, maybe I'll come back next week and I'll reevaluate my list and make him, the second or third worst backup quarterback in the NFL instead of the absolute worst.
So I went at the 2 practices with the Buccaneers. Chad Withrow with us, presented by Apple Collision Centers online at applecollisioncenters.com. I watched the defense the first day, but I saw the 2-minute drill with the offense. And Tannehill, it's pretty obvious who he likes to throw the football to in the 2-minute drill. Hooper, Hilliard, Westbrook-Akina, Phillips, Hilliard. Then the next day it was, and he threw one to Robert Woods in the other one, but then the next day in the 2-minute drill it was Tannehill. Now he got sacked on the first one, which wasn't very good. Phillips, Racey McMath, Westbrook-Akina. Traylon Burks' name not mentioned. I know everybody likes, Westbrook-Akina's look good in training camp or whatever. Chad, I am convinced that this team cannot take the next step that they want to take if Traylon Burks does not effectively replace A.J. Brown as a big game playmaker. Are you worried while he's had his moments in camp, it hasn't been consistent given what the expectations are replacing A.J.?
Yeah, it's interesting, seeing who Ryan Tannehill trusts in the offense. And it's no surprise that he hasn't formed that level of trust yet with Traylon Burks. So that part doesn't shock me. I don't think that, Jared, he needs to be A.J. Brown in week 1. But, yeah, he needs to eventually approach that level this season, of A.J. Brown. So I think a big part of that is getting to the point where Ryan Tannehill trusts he knows where Traylon Burks is going to be and what he's going to be doing on every play. He clearly has that already quickly with Phillips and with Hooper. We're seeing that with Nick Westbrook-Akina, a guy that has been around and he obviously trusts. So that just takes a little bit more time, and it takes Traylon Burks doing the job more for them to develop that. And, again, I don't expect them to be there in week 1, but I do agree with you that if you're going to pull off this enormous risky move of trading away A.J. Brown because you felt like that it was going to become a problem down the road, and you want to go cheaper at the position, and you get Traylon Burks in the first round, and Traylon Burks is the guy that you believe could eventually become A.J. Brown. I don't think you have a year and a half, 2-year window to wait for a guy to become A.J. Brown. I think it needs to start to happen this season. I don't expect it to happen that early in the year, but he needs to develop as the year goes on, and a big part of Treylon Burks' development is the development of the relationship with Ryan Tannehill, where Tannehill is trusting his rookie receiver, and they just aren't there yet.
Chad Withrow with us, Outkick 360, presented by Apple Collision Centers. Did you watch, before I asked, did you watch? The Colts' first team went up against the Bills' second team. Now, Jonathan Taylor didn't play last Saturday, but the Colts did nothing on offense with Matt Ryan as quarterback. Outside of Michael Pittman, none of his receivers could win any matchups against backups from the Bills. What do you make of that for Indianapolis?
I watched that game. The punt god guy was amazing.
He kicked the ball 80 yards.
I mean, and it wasn't – usually it's like a worm burner. You know, you kick it, and it's going to roll for 40 yards afterward. That thing was 80 yards on like a hop and a half into 82 yards in the end zone. It was impressive. Yeah, I mean, I was not – look, Matt Ryan playing in the game surprised me. So that kind of shows you they need that. They need those reps in game action with Matt Ryan in the offense. I was not impressed with Indy. They jumped out to a lead. The Bills came back and won the game. I actually ended up watching quite a bit of that game on Saturday afternoon on NFL Network for whatever reason. Not impressed with the Colts. You know, again, we can make the caveat with everything we discuss here that it's preseason, and it's just preseason. But I think the telling sign is that they have the first-team offense out there against the Bills' backups, which shows me they see a situation that needs a lot of work with Matt Ryan and that offense. And just like Treylon Burks and his trust level with Ryan Tannehill and vice versa isn't there yet, the Colts offense has clearly not arrived yet.
So the Colts had joint practices with the Lions this week, and Jim Irsay kind of gave his state of the Colts talk. And he was talking about the future eras and winning a Lombardi and everything else. But he said it all starts in one place. This is what Jim Irsay said earlier this week.
You know, we know going into it, it's about Tennessee. It's about winning the division. It's about going against those guys who have been very tough. And they do a great job there and getting their players ready to play football in a tough physical way. So it's always tough going against those guys, but we know that's what we have to do. That's what we have to overcome if we want to get where we want to get.
So I have a theory about those comments. My theory is the Titans are the girl with a good personality. And that's what Jim Irsay just said right there, which is, you know, they play hard and they're a tough football team and, you know, we got it. But they have Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, and I'm tired of losing to him. And if I don't beat him this year, I'm firing Frank Reich and Chris Ballard. Do you agree with that?
I totally disagree.
Really?
It's funny because only a lifelong Titan guy, which, you know, you grew up here.
Sure.
You followed this team forever.
Look, I love the Titans.
Yeah, but only a lifelong, I'll say, you know, Titans fan, Titans guy, would take that quote from Jim Irsay and turn it into some form of disrespect. Because all Jim Irsay is saying is the Titans are the cream of the crop in the division. I mean, we can sit here and question, you know, just how with it Jim Irsay is at times.
True.
But, I mean, I hear that and think, man, here is a Titans fan base who is starved for attention nationally or respect from other teams or other media members or other coaches or whatever, and the owner of another NFL team in their division and a rival is clearly stating the Titans are the goal. That's who we have to get to that position as a franchise. They are the team to beat every year in the AFC South until we beat them or someone else. I think that's the ultimate respect from Jim Irsay. I don't think it's a knock on the Titans at all. And, again, I think that's your hardwired Titans past creeping up, that you're going to hear that. And even the name Titans mentioned from someone else is some form of disrespect, even when I don't think that's disrespectful at all. That's Jim Irsay saying the truth. This is the Titans division until proven otherwise, and I'm glad that he was honest enough to come out and say it.
I don't think it's disrespect. I think it is kind of where the Titans sit in the general public's mind. Like, I had Steve Tasker on SiriusXM earlier this week, And, he does the Bills games now. Steve Tasker, a longtime player, longtime broadcaster. And I asked him who were the competitors to the Bills in the AFC. And he literally, Caroline, how many teams did he mention? Like 9?
Like 7, 8, 9.
Like, didn't even mention the Titans.
The entire AFC West and the entire AFC East.
And it's not like Steve Tasker has a bone to pick with the Titans. At least I don't think he does. My theory behind this is right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, the Colts are favored to win the division -125. The Titans are +170. My theory is everybody around the country looks at the Titans this way, which is, they're a tough team. They're solid. Vrabel's a great coach. Derrick Henry. But, and the but is always Tannehill. And you go back to me being a Titan fan. When the Colts had Peyton Manning, I knew why the Titans weren't beating Indianapolis. I understood why the Titans were beating Indianapolis. I wish my team had Peyton Manning. I got it. I think Irsay looks at it like, we keep losing to that guy? Like that guy? We keep losing to Tannehill? The same reason why everybody else doesn't consider the Titans a contender, I think it's Tannehill, Chad.
Yeah, and look, you can say the same about when Andrew Luck was there, not just Peyton Manning with the Colts,
yes.
as to why the Titans fans would look at that game and think you're not going to win it. No, I agree with you on this one because and I don't think it's a bad thing to be seen as the franchise that you got to show up for this team because they're going to get the most out of them. Mm-hmm. And, they got a really good defense and they're well coached and they're disciplined and yada, yada. That's not a bad thing, but you say all those things because you don't have Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Deshaun Watson. I'm going down the list of guys who are considered great quarterbacks across the league. So when it's Ryan Tannehill, you look to the next thing. It's Derrick Henry. It's offensive line play. It's a solid defense. It's Mike Vrabel's tough mindset. It's always going to be something else and not just a quick knee-jerk reaction to, who are the contenders in the AFC? Well, the Titans aren't going to come to mind because automatically I think we defer mentally to the top quarterbacks in the league when we start to think about contenders. Goes for college football too at times. So, yeah, I think as long as Ryan Tannehill's a quarterback, this is not Tannehill's fault per se, but as long as a guy like Tannehill that's very much, middle of the pack, NFL starting quarterback, is your starting quarterback, you're going to be considered sort of not a plucky, overachieving team, but people are going to point to other traits about your team and never come to grips with the fact that you are a contender right away when asked to name contenders.
So I actually do think it's Tannehill's fault because he threw 3 picks in a Bengals playoff game, and now they get.
Yeah, that was his fault. That part was definitely his fault.
What he is. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, as always, presented by Apple Collision Centers online at applecollisioncenters.com. Great stuff, Chad. We'll talk next week.
So we're going to talk Vandy, Hawaii next week. I came ready with all my notes for this game.
Vandy, Hawaii?
It's going to be Vandy, Hawaii preview next week. Is that what we're getting into?
I'm shaking in my boots.
What time is that
game?
Like 2 o'clock in the morning they're going to play that game?
It's like 9 p.m. Central, I think. But I don't know if you guys saw the Hawaii director of player personnel came out and started taking shots at Vandy today in an interview. Gave him some bulletin board material saying that they got to get ready. They're not going to be ready for what they're going to see here at Hawaii in this opening game.
Like Vanderbilt's never played in Sanford Stadium.
Yeah.
Or
Vandy plays in tougher atmospheres at home when opposing fan bases take over their crowds than what they're going to see in Hawaii. So,
that's a fair point. I will watch that Vandy game. And I'll say this. I have no allegiance to Vandy, but I do like Clark. I would bet against him being successful at Vandy. I don't expect him to be, but I think he's a good guy. So I hope Clark does well for Clark's sake.
What a ringing endorsement. I like Clark. I don't expect him to be successful at all. But I'll be rooting for him.
You know Clark a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he can overcome what Vanderbilt's biggest problems are for Vanderbilt. But what kills me about Clark Lee is if he hadn't taken the Vanderbilt job, he'd be the head coach at Notre Dame today.
Yeah, what kills me about Clark Lee is when guys who are exactly my age are head coaches in the SEC now. And no one bats an eye at it. Like, it's not even, talk about him being young anymore. So that really shows my age. That it's just odd that, guys my age are head coach in the SEC, and we don't even consider him that young anymore. So that's a sad state of affairs for me.
Yeah,
I like Clark Lee.
The old men.
I like his plan. it's just going to take quite a while to execute that plan. So I hope Vandy is patient.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, as always. Great stuff, Chad.
All right, fun times as always, guys. Thanks.
Yep. So the thing he's talking about how Clark Lee's now a head coach and they're the same age and nobody talks about it, you'll experience that one day. You will experience what it was like to be the young person and have everybody tell you, think about it. Wow. Because you started this job, you're 23 years old, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you're 23 years old doing afternoon drives in Nashville. Afternoon drive in Nashville. People are probably like, wow, Caroline, that is so incredible. You're so young to be doing that, and wow, and oh my God. And I'm sure you've experienced a lot of that, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So I was 26 when we started Jared and the GM. Now I was 25 when I started doing my own solo show in Nashville. And honestly, everybody talked to me about like, wow, I can't believe it. You're so good for so young. And now they never talk about me being young anymore, and I definitely feel that.
So I was at an Astros game with one of my best friends who lives in Houston, and, whenever the batter comes up, their date of birth is up there as well. And there was a batter up, and he was born in, 1998. We were born in 97. She said, isn't that crazy that there are players who are younger than us in the MLB? I said, there are plenty of players in the MLB that are much younger than us. 25-year-old players in the MLB now are just average.
I remember when my brother was born in 83, and I remember when Dontrell Willis started pitching, and I'm like, he's younger than my brother.
Yeah.
And that was like a shock to my system. But soon you will feel what it is like to
that
not be
every college
old
player is younger than I am.
Nobody thinks that I'm old.
You're not old.
And nobody thinks that Chad's old.
No.
Or that Hutton's old.
No, none of y'all are old.
But we're not young anymore. And there is a difference between it was nice to be young, and now
the 6 save the dates on my refrigerator make me feel very not young.
Yeah, I mean that didn't get me. Like my friends getting married and my friends having kids, that didn't get me. But over the last couple of years, I certainly feel much, much, much older. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next on the program, the locks on the roster. Before the Ravens game, we had 41 guys that were a lock to make the Titans. Now we have 45, but one prominent name, prominent-ish, it's prominent for August, has been dropped from a lock. We'll discuss that next. Fireball Sin Whiskey. I love Fireball. Goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Fireball Whiskey will make you feel young again. Trust me. That's right. I love Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. There's no better way to kick off a weekend than to do it with ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. That's right. Out at your favorite spots in town or, of course, at your favorite local liquor stores, they've got Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Ignite the night. Please do it responsibly. Enjoy your weekend. Be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the hat.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Are you ready for this?
You've never seen the PBR like this. Buckle up for the ultimate weekend in Western sports as the PBR Team Series invades Nashville's Bridgestone Arena August 19th through the 21st. 8 teams, 3 days, 1 champion. Don't miss your chance to watch history as it's made. Get your tickets now at PBR.com or Ticketmaster.com. PBR Team Series. Bull riding will never be the same.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willie Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Right now, get half off a $30 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. Old School Pizza features New York style thin crust made fresh to order from imported Italian flour that gives a unique flavor and crunch. Check out happy hour every weekday afternoon from 3 to 5 for half off selected appetizers and draft beer. Have pizza the old school way at Old School Pizza in Brentwood. OldSchoolPizzaBrentwood.com.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willie, and D-Mace.
Stillman Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Mike, why has the rep count decreased for Logan?
Because, I just think that we have to continue to develop Malik in this system. And we've had conversations with Logan about, his opportunity to compete. But I also feel like, we have to try to see, how quickly we can bring Malik along, and I think that would be the reason why.
That was Mike Vrabel talking yesterday. They have decreased his rep count, Logan Woodside, and I don't know if that's because they know they don't care about him anymore, or because, hey, we know what Logan is, and Logan will be whatever Logan is. But going into the Ravens game, I had 41 locks on the Titans roster. Now, going into the Buccaneers game, I have 45 locks.
Ooh.
But I had 3 quarterback locks, Tannehill, Willis, Woodside. I now have 2 quarterback locks, Tannehill, Willis. Logan Woodside has a good chance to make the roster. So here's what I do. I write down the locks, the guys that are going to make the team. Then I put in red the guys that have a good chance of making the team. And then in blue, the outside chance, or probably more likely the practice squad. So let's just go over it, whatever changes we may have. Quarterback, 2 locks, Tannehill and Willis. Woodside is in red, which means he has a good chance. That is down from 3 locks last week. Running back, 3 locks, Henry, Hilliard, and Haskins. Torrey Carter has a good chance in red, as does Trenton Cannon. And Julius Chestnut is in blue, and I anticipate the Titans would want him on the practice squad. That is almost no change from last week, though I did have Jordan Wilkins with an outside chance of making the team.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yep, he got cut.
Yeah.
Receiver. They carried 7 last year into the season. I've got 5 locks, the same 5 locks I had before the Ravens game. Woods, Burks, Westbrook, Akina, McMath, and Phillips.
McMath a lock?
5 locks. I had McMath a lock last week, too.
Wow.
Des Fitzpatrick, I gave a good chance last week. I've dropped him down to outside chance of making the team.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what he does. I just don't see a use for him. I don't see any other team claiming him so he could go onto the practice squad. I have outside chances for all of these guys, knowing that one of these guys is probably going to make the team. Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, Hollister, Robertson, Godwin. I think Hollister of that group is the most likely to make the team because he can play all the spots and special teams. Tight end, 3 locks last week, 3 locks this week. Austin Hooper, Chickaconquo, Jeff Swain. I gave Tommy Hudson, the tight end, a good chance to make the team. Last week he had an outside chance to make the team, as did Briley Moore, and Briley Moore got cut.
What has changed?
Hudson now has a good chance to make the team as opposed to an outside chance.
Yes, but I'm asking why.
Numbers.
Okay.
Probably going to need 4 tight ends.
Okay.
Offensive linemen, six locks last week. Lawan Brewer, Ben Jones, Nate Davis, Dylan Radens, Nicholas Petit-Frere. 7 locks this week. Lawan Brewer, Jones, Davis, Radens, Petit-Frere, and Corey Levin. I thought Corey Levin played well in the Ravens game, and honestly, they need someone that can back up at guard and center, and Levin can do that along with Brewer, so I think that Levin's going to make the team.
Is Roos on that list?
Now, last week, we gave him a good chance to make the team. This week, we're giving him a good chance to make the team along with Jamarco Jones. Now, I do think they're going to need another tackle, and Jalen McKenzie is in blue. I think he's a practice squad guy, an undrafted free agent out of USC. His dad is Reggie McKenzie. His brother's Khalil McKenzie. But I think he needs practice squad time, so he's in blue.
But also a good guy to just, keep if, knock on wood in case of injury. Or just a depth piece.
More like the Malika tackles.
Just leave him there, let him develop.
Get better. And then we'll
get better,
talk
and we'll talk next year.
Defensive line. Last week we had 4 locks, Simmons, Autry, Tart, and Naquan Jones. This week we have 5, Simmons, Autry, Tart, Naquan Jones, and DeMarcus Walker.
Mm-hmm.
They love DeMarcus Walker, so he's a lock. Outside linebacker, 4 locks last week, Dupree, Landry, Weaver, Ola Adeni. 4 locks this week, Dupree, Landry, Weaver, Ola Adeni. And David Anea is in red. Thought he played well in the Ravens game, had a couple of sacks, was very active in the Tampa Bay practices. I think he has an inside track at getting a roster spot. David Anea, I have put him in there as a good chance to make the roster.
He was a little darling after the preseason game.
He was.
Everyone loved to talk about David Anea.
And that gets you on the list.
All right, that's a good sign.
Inside linebacker, they carried 4 last year. Last week I had 2 locks. Zach Cunningham, David Long Jr. I now have 3. Zach Cunningham, David Long Jr., and Chase Campbell, 6th-round pick out of Ole Miss. He also, by the way, forced a fumble on the second team against the Buccaneers, getting a lot of reps. They usually don't cut guys that they drafted that are getting a lot of reps. Mm-hmm. I think Chase Campbell makes the team. Joe Jones, Dylan Cole with a good chance to make the team. Gibbons, who will play a lot in the preseason games. I think he's a practice squad guy. Monty Rice is on the pup list. If Monty Rice comes back, he would
takes
be
that spot.
A lock to make the team. Corner. Last week I had 5. Now I have 6. Farley, Fulton, McCreary, Molden, Chris Jackson. And I am adding Lonnie Johnson Jr. as a lock to this team. I think he will take the spot that they originally had for Buster Screen, who retired before the start of training camp. Lonnie had a pick in his first day. Apparently he's all talent, no effort. I think Vrabel will get the effort out of him. If not, he'll get cut pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But Lonnie has more talent than some of these other guys. In red, good chance to make the team. Shakur Brown, I think, has a really good chance to make the team. And Greg Maben, who just happens to always be on the Titans. Mm-hmm. Shaheem Carter, I put down as a practice squad potential guy. I'd never heard of Shaheem Carter. Apparently played at Alabama.
I'd never heard of him until one of the early practices before training camp and OTAs. He had a couple pass breakups.
How could we have never heard of him if he played at Alabama?
I'm sure there's probably plenty of players we never heard of from Alabama because they don't really see the field a lot. There's so much depth at Alabama.
I know, but those guys eventually play. Or else they go somewhere else.
I mean, maybe he played in a couple of games.
Like Mac Jones never played. And then Mac Jones eventually played, and we all knew who Mac Jones was.
Well, yes, because he's a quarterback.
I know, but so would the other.
How many defensive backs that were low down on the roster that you could name from Alabama?
But I'm saying, if a guy's been at Alabama for a while, and he's low on the roster, then he leaves after the second year when he sees the other guys behind him that are going to jump him, and he goes somewhere else.
Well, clearly Shaheem Carter did not do that.
Either that or Shaheem Carter played, and we just never noticed.
Well, do we really notice a lot of defensive backs?
Oh, I notice all these defensive players at Alabama. They're
really?
all good.
How many defensive backs can you name from Alabama? Like, when did he come out?
He's been in the league for 1 year. Okay. How many defensive backs in the league can I name from Alabama?
How many defensive backs, I guess, in the league.
Okay.
Or from that team, really.
Kirkpatrick.
Okay.
Trey Kirkpatrick. Trayvon Diggs.
Uh-huh.
Eddie Jackson. Landon Collins. Mm-hmm. Marlon Humphrey.
Those are all starters in the NFL.
Again, not Drake Kirkpatrick. Let's see. Because I'm trying, because they all played Alabama. The Patriots running backs coach, Vinny Sinceri, was a DB for Nick Saban in Alabama.
Okay. Was.
Mark Barron.
That's actually pretty impressive that you can name
was
this many.
A safety in Alabama. Oh, God. Who was that corner for the Jets who just freaking sucked? They took him in the first round, like 8th overall, and he was terrible. The same year the Titans took Chance Warmack.
But those are all starters. Those were all starters at Alabama. They're all starters in the NFL
backups
now.
at Alabama don't stay backups
Well,
at Alabama. They go other places.
He did.
No, he must have played. Safety, 4 locks, which is different than last week where I had 3. Bayard Hooker and A.J. Moore were the locks last week. Josh Kalu is a lock. Vrabel loves him. He plays special teams. He can play safety and, if he has to, play a little corner. He blocked those kicks a couple years ago for the Titans on special teams. Vrabel loves him. Josh Kalu is making the team, in my opinion. They traded for that Gillespie, so I guess he has an outside chance to make the team. And Theo Jackson, I kind of put his outside chance, but really more I feel like a practice squad guy. I don't think Theo Jackson's going to make the Titans. Bullock, Kern, and Morgan Cox. Bullock, Kern, and Cox are all locks, the specialists. That's 45 spots. That leaves 8 for Woodside, Torrey Carter, Trenton Cannon, Julius Chestnut, the receivers, Tommy Hudson, a couple of guys on the line they're going to have to add. They're going to need a backup quarterback because it's not going to be Malik. They're going to need a fullback. They're going to need corner depth, offensive line depth, and some special teamers. So who knows? D. Milner, thank you, Ian. Boy, did he stink. 615-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next with your wonderful calls on Stillman and Company right here, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5".
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Gearing up for a hot and humid weekend with highs in the upper 80s near 90 both Saturday and Sunday. Look for a few thunderstorms Saturday. Better chance of thunderstorms with heavy rain possible Sunday. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Listen to Stillman & Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
How do you make the most of your land? Shaw does it behind the wheel of a John Deere 1025R compact tractor.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
And he lives up to the name as he uses his versatile tractor to make
the earth take the shape that I wanted to take.
And the Allens fire up their John Deere 3032E compact tractor to
grow about 9 acres of flowers.
Because the beauty of having land is deciding how to make it yours. There are millions of ways to make the most of your land. Learn how to make the most of yours at Deere.com. Nothing runs like a Deere.
Chase McCabe.
Competition in all positions.
Willie Donick.
You know what? I went on the radio and I tried.
And Derek Mason.
The man that sleeps on the floor never falls out to bed.
Chase, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Nashville's best deal of the week is Old School Pizza in Brentwood. Old School Pizza was voted number 3 best new restaurant in Nashville. It offers pizza and other Italian specialties. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals now to get a $30 gift card for only $15 to Old School Pizza while supplies last. Big Joe and Elijah Campbell are coming up next for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz here at the top of the hour. I want to talk about this for a second, which is on Sunday, it'll be August 21st. And that'll mark the 1-year anniversary of Floyd's passing. And I would say this, that it has been probably the most traumatic experience of my life. And that over the last year, it has been so hard. Like, I knew it was going to be hard. I knew when he got sick, and I couldn't tell anybody. And I knew that when it was obvious that he wasn't going to make it, like, I knew it was going to be hard for me. I didn't know how hard it was going to be. And there is a part of me that has gone through this of almost, I think anybody who listens to the show knows how much I love doing it. Mm-hmm. But there's almost been a part of me that at times has questioned, doing this show in the same capacity basically without Floyd. It was much easier when he was still alive and he was sick than it was after he died. And it was really hard for me to find meaning in the radio show. A couple of weeks after he died, and we're sitting there talking about preseason football, and I'm like, do I really care? Like, what's the meaning behind this? And I think it's kind of made me realize that with all things in life, I guess after we die, or in my own personal case, thinking about that at some point I am going to die. And when that happens, life will move on. And I'm not one to sit there and say, like, life should move on or anything like that, and not recognize what that person meant to our lives. But I feel personally like I wouldn't have been able to get through the last year without you all, and specifically with Caroline, because it was really hard. The whole process, and maybe I've just seen in radio where there are partnerships, and after the partnership is over, or even while the partnership is still on air but almost deteriorating, it's like I've seen people that work together and they hate each other. And that wasn't Floyd and I's relationship. And I would like to think that as much respect as I had for him, for everything that he had accomplished in the NFL, I was hopeful that he had a similar respect for the passion and energy with which I brought to the radio show. And my mom said to me that as a parent, one of the things that is very difficult is not knowing who's going to influence your children. And that she took great comfort in the fact that she felt like I was influenced very heavily by Floyd. And I really was. And so the only way that I've gotten through doing this show over the last year, with thinking about something that I think about literally every hour of every day, is that I knew, that's what he would have wanted. I mean, he'd have been pissed. He'd be pissed that I'm talking about this right now. But more importantly, I think the fact that your passion in the audience for the show, for the Titans, for the Predators, for the opinions, for everything that we do, that is what has really carried me through the last year. And it's been really hard, and I wish I could say it gets better. I hope it will get better. But I feel like what it made our show so effective for all those years was how authentic our relationship was. And I think that that's what makes our show now I think it's what makes it popular, is that we are very enthusiastic about what we do. We're very passionate about it. We care like you care. And so I guess it's my long-winded way of saying that I think the meaning that I found over the last year is that for whatever I do on the radio, I always feel like there's a piece of him with me. And I'm going to try to continue that for as long as I possibly can. So I know I talk about Floyd every day. I'm sure some people are like, hey, man, I really wish you'd stop doing that. I'm sure there are people out there. I'm sure there are people that think, hey, move on. And I don't know if I will or if I won't. But the last year's been really difficult, and I would not want to do this show if I didn't know that I was doing it to try to make him proud, continue his legacy, but most importantly, do it for you all. So I want to thank you all for what you meant to me over the last year. That's it for us.